Welcome in. It's Friday on Chicago Hockey Radio. Lee Grossman, Tassos, Kirkos, Justin Lynch, Raven Gasser on the production side of things today and every day. Welcome in Friday. Special edition of Chicago Hockey Radio. We're going to be welcoming Stephen Ellis here, editor-in-chief and also top prospect guru from Daily Faceoff. He'll be joining us in about 20 minutes time. We will be hashing out the beef between Lee and Justin here. Is it Matthew Schaefer, or is it James Higgins, or is it somebody else? We'll talk about that with him, and also, you know, what kind of Hawks prospects he likes that are currently in the organization already. I'm sure we'll ask him, what other kinds of players, and, can the Hawks draft out? I mean, that's my question for him is how high does he think the Hawks can draft up? So, welcome to the show, everybody. Justin, how are we feeling today, brother? Let's throw it over to you.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's Friday, so Friday is always a good day. But man, I'm really excited for this show. Man, I'm always excited for these, but today there's just a little extra something in the air. I'm feeling it. I think Lee's feeling it over there too. So really excited that we're bringing Stephen Ellis along to join us. It should be a fun day, a fun debate, talk about prospects and plenty of other content as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm. Whoa.
Yeah, Raven, you got to turn Lee's mic on, brother.
Can you guys hear me?
His mic might be unplugged.
Oh, well, that's a problem. Hot
Uh-oh.
start. Hot start.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody wants to hear from Lee anyways. So while we figure that out, yeah, we got to make sure that that's good to go for future episodes. But
Check. There we go. Can you
There
hear
we
me?
go. Now he's
Yeah.
in now.
There we
All
go. I was gonna say, and that didn't help. I was gonna say, I'm a little nervous for this one. Dare I say?
Are you really?
I feel like
Uh-oh.
I've got to defend my livelihood. You know, it was. I think it was kind of perfect in the way that Monday it was just me and Tassos on the show, and I kind of had a realization. I was like, if Schaefer's the number one guy, I would feel hypocritical to not say we should draft him first overall, since I was screaming last year that we should draft the player with the highest ceiling, the best player available, which I thought was Ivan Demidov at the time. We didn't do that. And now if we go around a second time, if we have the first overall pick, and all the consensus is that Matthew Schaefer is the best player in the draft, which I think I do agree with, it would be hypocritical for me to say, no, you should go for the fit. We need more forwards. So that's kind of where I'm at. But then on Wednesday, I wasn't on the show and you were. And of course we posted the clip too from the Monday show. And so you just got to tee off on me while I wasn't there. And I will say that some of your criticisms of the fact that I did switch up, those are true. So I'm not going to refute that.
my favorite was the tape criticism. the lead.
Oh, maybe he watched hours of Matthew Schaefer. Maybe he's watched
did.
every bit of highlights
I
to
was in
see
the
in which
lab.
case.
I was in
Okay.
the lab. What am I supposed to? Where have we gotten to in society that you can't like believe one thing and then change your mind? Like, are we not allowed to change our minds anymore to make better decisions going forward? I'm sorry if we're not, but I thought that that's like kind of the whole point of life.
No, it's not the fact that you changed your. That's all well and fair. It's just the fact that you've been against that train all season. It just seems so random, so out of nowhere. Even last week, you were saying another thing. So again, if you hadn't seen the tape yet, that's one thing. And then now that you've seen the tape, you watched him play, you can make that judgment. Fair enough. But it almost to me seemed like you admitted you hadn't watched him play before, which for me is like, well, how could you have known before that he wasn't the guy? Anyway, we'll get to it later. We have other things to tee up before then.
Hold up. I need to. You can't just like shit on me and then not let me respond to that. Okay. To be fair, no, I did not.
To be fair.
To be fair, we're getting in that point of the year where we're going to start thinking about drafting a lot more. It's going to be a bulk of what we talk about on the show too, I'm sure. Unfortunately for Tassos, I know that's his like worst nightmare. But
Yeah, we enjoy it more than he does.
And so I will say, yes, for a while, I'm like, we need forwards. We need forwards. And that's still true. We still need high-end forward talent. I still believe that. But as we've gotten closer, I've actually truly wrestled with what I think we should do. And as I just mentioned, like things that I was saying last year, I want to be as consistent as I can. So yes, I did finally sit down and really watch, because I've watched those other guys. I've watched Misa, I've watched Higgins, I've watched Martone. I didn't really watch much Schaefer because I'm like, we can't do this, right? But now is in Bob McKenzie's mid-season draft rankings just came out this week, and guess what? Consensus, all the top GMs and scouts in the NHL were saying, who's the first overall? Not James Higgins, not Michael Misa. No, it was Matthew Schaefer, who many scouts and GMs said was in a league of his own. So when all those things happen, look, I just got to do the best job I can and be as honest with myself and the audience as possible. And if we have a true number one defenseman in Matthew Schaefer, you know, they're comparing him to Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. You really want to pass up Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar?
Well, I remember last week you were saying, where does this come from, right? I mean, you were confused why Matthew Schaefer was all of a sudden the consensus number one guy when he's been playing the last month, and James Higgins just had dominant World Juniors. And now all of a sudden you've watched the tape and you're like, oh, yeah, I totally agree with them.
Hold
now
on.
It's like,
Is it possible that maybe like pro scouts and general managers who this is their careers might know and have more information than I do? Is that possible too?
Yeah, I mean, it could be possible. I don't know. I just thought the switch up was very interesting timing. But again, I think we probably should be saving this for later, right? Unless we just want to do it now. But Stephen Ellis isn't even here yet.
We could argue about this literally for 5 hours. So we'll be.
Let's tee up some things first. Yeah.
So let's get in, because we have some prospect talk that is relating to the Hawks, and I consider a prospect anybody that is really not a full-time National Hockey Leaguer. So we have a couple of news and notes relating to prospects already in the organization. Lee's favorite player, AJ Spellisy, was signed to his 3-year entry level deal. $975K, and gets the max rookie deal. So clearly the Blackhawks think really highly of him. I was surprised that he hadn't already signed. I thought he had signed already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in fact, the matter is, he was one of the last players who survived that preseason, right? Preseason legend, AJ Spellisy, had insane rookie showcase, training camp, was one of the last cuts even. I mean, we speculated he might even make the team. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen, but still, he's had a good season there at Windsor. Clearly, he looks like an NHL player to me. Could be a bottom 6 guy for us, and at least, I don't know if he's still on that 2C train.
2C.
Okay, he is. So he confirmed it there. So, yeah, I mean, this signing, I think he still probably has some time in Windsor before he makes the jump. Probably, a few years away. But I think it's a good sign. The Hawks are liking what they're seeing so far, and definitely could have a future here for sure.
Yeah, so the situation's kind of interesting, though. I was seeing on Twitter that because of his age and, like, the day that he was born, there's
he
certain
play Rockford.
Yeah, he won't be able to play in the AHL next year.
No, he'd have to go back to junior.
Yeah, so he'd have to go back to junior or make the team.
Yeah, I mean, you never say never, but I think it'd be pretty soon to make that jump. Maybe 26, 27, but I think another season juniors wouldn't hurt him. Yeah.
No, me neither. Keep in mind, this is a guy that was playing for the Cleveland Barons 15U AAA team as recently as the 21-22 season before making the jump.
He was more of a football player before, yeah. So it's definitely, he's a raw prospect, right? So that's what makes him so intriguing, his size, his speed. A lot of attributes there that if he works out, could be a serious player for us.
And can we acknowledge that I wasn't super far, like if they're giving this guy a contract who's probably going to play another year of junior hockey, they obviously believe in this guy. They obviously think he's going to be a part of the team in the near future.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like sooner rather than later. A lot of the time they'll sign these kids, they'll give them a signing bonus so they have a little bit of spending money when they're, at junior hockey so they can go buy themselves Chipotle and stuff like that.
True.
And, maybe
keep them well fed.
Maybe some gas in the car and stuff like that.
He needs his food.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I want that guy to be like 240
absolute
around
tank. Yeah, absolutely. Like a football player on ice.
Also, it's kind of another thing I was hearing is that it's kind of like a GM move to where you're not having to pay all these guys like the same year coming out of their ELC, and you can kind of stagger that a little bit. So it's just some GM move stuff. Which, I mean, it still gets me a little excited because that's my guy. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, we're all high on him. I think I don't know if anyone's as high on Spellisy as you are.
No. Lee is, the biggest Spellisy guy. All right. Interesting move too on the back end. Wyatt Kaiser sent down yesterday. Ethan Del Mastro called up to the National. Let's throw it over to you, Justin, first for your thoughts on this. I think we all kind of agreed that it was time to give a guy like Ethan Del Mastro a look in the National Hockey League, but at the expense of sending Kaiser down, that's where it's a bit puzzling for me. I wonder if you feel kind of the same way.
Yeah, the timing's a little interesting. He played 2 games with the Hawks last year, so he's not making his debut, but, should have more comfort around the team, right? Hopefully we'll see him get a decent rep time here. Hopefully it's not just a couple of games or war that he's right back down. It could well be the case, right? But Kaiser actually thought since he'd been called back up and playing better, so to come to his expense, a little interesting there, but somebody has to be sent down, right? But yeah, from Del Mastro, excited to see him up here. The timing is a little curious to me. I think I look at his season compared to last year, maybe a bit of a drop off there, but there's also a lot more competition at Decor, Rockford. Probably not not getting as much playing time, not as much time to special teams this season. His stats are low down, but I think his play has been solid. I think especially, the 2025 portion of the season, he's been playing better lately. So I clearly think the Hawks want to give him a reward there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, right? I think given those young D there, we have so many young defensemen in Rockford, right? Give them looks, give them reps up here. We got to see what they can do, right? So, it's not rushing him. I think he's been playing a few years there now. He's what, 21, 22 years old?
22.
Yeah, 22 years old, right? 2021 draft pick, I believe. So, yeah, a few games up here doesn't hurt him at this stage, right? See where he's at, and then go back to Rockford, more confidence the rest of the season. I think it's a positive move. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, before we sent Kaiser down that 24-hour period where we had 8 defensemen, I was like,
I was curious.
Something happening, which we can get into in a second. I'm going to say something maybe controversial. I think that Del Mastro-Allen D pairing is going to be significantly better than TJ Brody, Wyatt Kaiser. I'm going to
really?
Say I know I'm really, saying crazy stuff
going
here.
Out on a limb.
Yeah,
here.
We're doing wild, takes today. But Brody has been atrocious all year long. We have him for another year. That sucks. What do you do about that? I don't know. And Kaiser, I have not been a Kaiser truther all year. Like, I don't think he's looked good. Like, he has some games where it's like you didn't notice him, but that's about as good as it gets, to be honest with you. I feel like he's had a lot of those TJ Brody-esque mistakes that have led to, really good scoring chances for the other team or goals. And maybe part of that is being partnered up with TJ Brody all the time, which probably isn't helpful. But I'm excited. I love that the third pairing is going to be 2 young guys instead of, one of them having to play with a washed TJ Brody. So I'm happy about it.
I think to your point, it could be a good pairing because they played with each other a lot last season in Rockford, and both of them had pretty good results from that standpoint. So these are 2 players that know each other very well. So I think they should be able to complement each other out there. And I'm mostly just happy that TJ Brody is out of the lineup. He's scratched. So let's keep him out of the lineup for as long as we possibly can, right? I think that's a positive on all fronts. So definitely an upgrade from that standpoint. So, but yeah, I think I would agree with you too. I mean, I think I'd say of the young defensemen, Kaiser's probably been the least impressive. I think even Louis Crevier's probably impressed me more.
Way more. Come on.
Yeah.
Way more.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I'm in agreement there. I'm agreeing with you now because I know we're not going to be agreeing much later.
Yeah, get the pleasantries out of the way now.
Exactly.
So I did want to say about Ethan Del Mastro. He is, you mentioned kind of a down season. It is more than kind of a down season for him there. I do agree with you that it is a lot more of an issue of like having a credible, you got Kevin Korchinski down there. You have
Lev Shanov,
like all these, you had Phillips there for a while. So like he's on pace for like less than half the amount of points down in
What
Rockford.
is his production right now? Last I checked, they had
8 assists in 38 games right now. No goals.
Yeah, last year he had 37 points. Yeah, I think a lot of that's
games. So.
He was always a top pair guy last year, whereas this year sometimes he's second or third pair. So I think a lot of it's probably playing time, to be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair.
But that's a guy, and I hate to immediately put this guy on the trading block too, but maybe you're showcasing him for other teams and showing them that, because look, if he were to spend the whole year down in Rockford and have less than half the production he had in his rookie season, the trade value probably goes way down on a player like that. But if he comes up in the NHL, has a good 5-10 game run here with the Blackhawks, then
put some good tape out there.
Yeah, that's a good tape for Lee to watch. But yeah, that's a good way for you to sort of build the confidence of this kid, probably 1, and also 2, maybe boost his trade value around the league, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of B level. We have a large quantity of B level prospects, and obviously not all of them are going to make it, right? You're going to have to ship some of them off, so it could be something like that, or maybe it shows, there's just this time in the NHL is probably just done, right? Maybe they're just showing no progression. It's time to make that jump, right, and see where it happens, right? So that could be a part of it too.
Yeah, look, and Tassos, to your point, I mean, I think if you get the first overall pick and you take Matthew Schaefer there, you're going to be looking to move some of these guys. So so this could just be a little wink in our direction from Mr. Kyle Davidson.
All right.
Sure.
It is
keep telling yourself that.
It is a Hawks game day. However, we will probably tee up the games tonight and Sunday as well against the Minnesota Wild. After Stephen Ellis comes on, it'll probably be an extended Hawks hour and an abbreviated NHL hour. Or maybe we break it up and just do some Hawks talk in the NHL hour because we are going to have Stephen Ellis here joining us in a few moments. So, I don't want to get too deep into the Blackhawks, tonight, although I will mention Arvid Soderblom is getting the start tonight. Does that shock any of you at all?
No, I mean, he hasn't started in a while, right? So, I mean, it seems like he's kind of due, so not surprised by that.
Yeah. Excited to see him get back between the pipes. Hopefully have a good game.
Yeah, it should be a good matchup. I don't know. I wanted to get like Deandra Lou, who does Tampa Bay Lightning work down in Florida. I was hoping to see if we could get her on maybe, but the Hawks play the Lightning twice here before next Tuesday, and then their whole season series with them is done. So maybe we'll try and get her on Monday's show. But I don't know. Tonight's a big test for them in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, the Lightning, obviously, though, have had a bit down lately, but overall, they've had probably a better season than some people expected, right? I mean, losing Stamkos hasn't really hurt them that much. Such a deep team. You look at their stats, man. It's like that core is absolutely carrying over there.
It's
like
crazy.
they're all having insane seasons, like Kucherov, Gensel, Hagel, Sorelli, Hedman, etc. Like they're all going off. So, I mean, when that core is cooking and Vasilevsky and net, like they could still go on a run here. I mean, it's definitely not a team people should write off. So yeah, definitely a test for the Hawks. So again, they do tend to play better against the better teams. So this would be exactly the type of game that they win for no reason, but I'm probably being delusional there. But yeah, rest of the lineup is the same, right? Domasho, Allen in, Brody scratch, Soderblom starting. But yeah, rest of the lineup is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I said it on the live stream the other day. I am a little concerned about them starting out super flat tonight just because they've had the few days off.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you have a few days off, your mind immediately thinks, oh, you're well rested. You should be really sharp, really fast.
Rusty.
Yeah, I'm worried that we're going to see some rust and a slow start. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we start fast and then die in the second period like we always do. So
Yeah, a lot of skating and dough today.
Lee, I asked Justin this question, then maybe this will be the last little talking point, but it is Bolts related. I asked Justin this on Wednesday. Are the Tampa Bay Lightning Stanley Cup contenders in your mind?
I don't know. So Vasilevsky is playing well. If he can be playoff Vasilevsky, I think they have a shot against anybody, especially with how, as Justin just mentioned, those guys that are firing. They got as much high-end talent as anybody in the league. I think it's just going to be about like can the depth guys, can the bottom six guys play a big enough role and keep up the scoring pace throughout 4 series in the playoffs. I think they could definitely win a series or two, but I don't know if I have faith in them to go all the way. But we'll see. They've obviously got the experience too. So as Justin pointed out, you cannot write those guys off.
Yeah. I didn't know if you had a point there you wanted to make or no.
Oh, no, I'm just noticing that Stephen Ellis has joined the Zoom boys.
Oh, has he? Are we
That's
ready?
right.
Are we ready for Steven?
Yeah, we can be. I just kind of need to
Let's
time it up with him for the switch of the video. So.
Yeah.
The switcherooski.
Well, let's make it happen, fellas.
Everyone up, please.
This is exciting. We've been waiting a long time for this little discussion here.
Absolutely.
Great podcasting going on right now, everybody.
Horrible skills. Do we want to wait to do Seth Jones talk till
yes
after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's way too big of a can of worms to open right now before we get him on. Steven, do we have you, brother?
You do. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can't see you though. However,
give me a second. I can't see you guys either.
oh no. All right.
Is it the phone thing, Raven?
It might be the phone thing, but it could just be on.
Oh, now we see
There
it.
we go.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Stephen Ellis, prospect guru. What is your title at Daily Faceoff? Is it editor in chief? Is it?
It's associate editor and prospect analyst.
Associate editor and prospect analyst. Stephen Ellis. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try and get my words.
I'm noticing the Ipsos shirt. Are you going to be watching the 24 Hours Daytona tomorrow?
Oh yeah, it's like one of my favorite events of the year. A good friend of mine is spotting for Pfaff Motorsports, the number 9 Lamborghini. It's based outside of Toronto, so definitely cheering for him.
Awesome, nice.
Justin,
I'm a big motorsports guy, so I'll be all over that tomorrow. No sleep.
Motorsports talk to kick us off there. Beautiful.
I love hockey. Hockey's obviously what I love, but racing is like I'd say that sports car racing or NASCAR, one of the two, like it's about as high as my interest in hockey.
How long have you been watching it?
Oh, since I was born, basically.
Okay.
I watched my first Daytona 500 when I was like only a few months old and haven't missed one. And then sports car racing in particular, I've watched since about 2005. So
nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, obviously we're here to pick your brain on a little bit of your prospect expertise. My two co-hosts here, Lee and Justin, have been
beefing.
Yeah, beefing over, is it Matthew Schaefer? Is it James Higgins? So we do want to get into that with you. And you want to start there?
Yeah. Can I just like paint the picture a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. So over the past couple shows, we've started this argument. I will admit, for Justin's case, I was more so on like, you have to get a forward with one of these early picks. You have to go for the Hagans or the Martone. I loved Martone pretty much all year. Or a Misa. I was saying you got to get one of those guys, but I feel like as time has gone on, I feel like the narrative has shifted. And I've heard you on other shows say that Matthew Schaefer is the number one guy from this draft. Last year, I was screaming from the rooftops that I wanted the Blackhawks to pick Ivan Demidov, second overall, because I thought that was the player with the highest ceiling and the most potential. And so if I want to be consistent with myself, I cannot come on here and say if the Blackhawks get the first overall pick, they should take Michael Misa or James Higgins. In your mind, so the Blackhawks obviously have a logjam of defense. We've got a ton of defensive prospects, which is not a bad thing. We are obviously in need of more forward depth and high-end forward talent. If you are the Blackhawks GM and you get the first overall pick, who would you take?
I understand the reason for not taking a defenseman, but as good as the blue line prospects that the Blackhawks have, they don't have a Matthew Schaefer. And Matthew Schaefer would instantly become the number one defensive prospect in that team, higher than Levshunov. Like, that's the thing. Like, last year's draft was this one with so many high-end defense. And I think if you look at it, Schaefer clears all of them. And that's a guy that brings the Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes type of the way he thinks, the way he moves, the way he dances with the puck out there. So Schaefer is that number one guy right now. But I've said it before, if I'm the Blackhawks, I don't want to be the team that has to make this decision first overall. And you look at Misa, and he's been playing center mostly this year, but he's played most of his junior career on the wing. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how teams view him. You look at Porter Martone, a lot of people are concerned about his pace and how he's more dangerous when he's in the offensive zone on the attack than anything else. Then you look at James Higgins, Jack Hughes style player right there, the way he thinks, the way he goes out there and makes everyone better. I know a lot of concerns about him not being a big player, but he is 5'11", so not huge, but he has added a bit more muscle to his game. So I think that when you watch him, you got to take into account there's a bit more to his game than what his, the heights and weights you see for him on there. He has become physically stronger, but I don't think he's at the same level of a prospect as Matthew Schaefer. It's close for sure. Like, to me, it's a 2-horse race for number one, but Schaefer is that top prospect this year.
Justin, do you want to make a little case for why? Like, you hear that, do you still say, don't care, we need a forward?
I respect that, but you talk about not being hypocritical, right? And I respect that as well. But I think KD has to not be hypocritical here. You talk about, we got to take Demidov last year, but he didn't. He was the best player available, but he didn't take him. He went for Need instead, right? And I know a lot of people are saying, writing kind of Levshunov off like he can't be the number one D. Is he Schaefer? Maybe not, probably not. But again, he's 19 years old, right? Such a raw prospect. I say we see this guy out, right? Develop him as the number one guy. I just look at the Hawks right now. Like, in terms of need, positional need, we need a forward much more than we need defensemen. Our D-core is absolutely stacked. Are they all going to work out? No. But the way I look at it, we have Levshunov, right? We have Korchinski, we have Rinzel, we have Vlasic, like we have Allen, we have all these guys here. It's a logjam, right? And I look at the four core players to help Bedsy. We have a lot of like B-level, like second, third line tier 4 prospects. We don't have a lot of surefire, like first line winger type players to complement Bedsy, right? So I know Higgins is center, but Misa could move to the wing, right? Martone's a winger. I just look at James Higgins, right? Is he at the same level as Schaefer? It's debatable, right? I know all the scouts are saying Schaefer's the guy, but part of me, I know his tape's impressive, but it's like, I mean, he's been injured the last month, and Higgins just had dominant performance in the World Juniors, right? He's cooking at Boston College. So I'm not saying my knowledge is as close to these guys. I'm not saying that at all, but I look at that and I'm a little confused, to be honest with you. For me, it's just in terms of what the Hawks need. I just think Schaefer, we need James Higgins a lot more than we need Matthew Schaefer, in my opinion.
There's a few things that scouts really look at that I think maybe gets undervalued by the average person. And when it comes to Schaefer, it's his mind, not just from a hockey IQ standpoint, but this is a guy that in the last year and a half has lost his mother, has lost his billet mother, started the year off with mono, basically just being stuck in bed, not being able to play, and now dealing with a collarbone injury. Now, that injury we haven't seen him return from yet, but this is a guy that through everything has never found a way to be kind of knocked down. He continues to get better. He's been this clear number one defenseman in this draft class. I think kind of since we saw him at the age 13, age 14 type thing back when he's playing in the AAA. But with Schaefer, you're not going to find a guy in this year's draft. You're not going to find a guy in last year's draft. It's been a while since we've seen someone that just does the things he does with the puck that makes himself so difficult to play against. And what all the showcase events we've seen him at, Hlinka Gretzky, one of the best defensive performances we've ever seen at that tournament. Yeah. He was fantastic in that CHL USA series. Those are small sample sizes, but then you look at how much better Erie is in the lineup without him or with him there, as opposed to, James Higgins could probably miss a month and in Boston College would still look really good because they've got that really good scoring depth. But I think the one thing to go with Higgins that kind of as a counterpoint is that's someone who set records at the U18 and the U17 World Championships, scoring records. He did it at the U18s without having a superstar player to play with. Like he didn't have a lot of will be made on the fact that he's playing with Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard right now. But when he set the all-time scoring record at the U18 World Championship, beating Ovechkin, beating everybody that's ever played at that tournament, he did so playing with guys who are probably third liners in the NHL at best. And I think that's important because he makes everyone around him better. But, you're going to probably find another guy like James Higgins in the next couple of drafts. You're not finding a player that can do what Matthew Schaefer does at both ends of the ice, with and without the puck, the way he thinks, the way he overcomes challenges, until maybe 2027 when we're looking at Landon DuPont as the top prospect there. But I love Schaefer is a guy that scouts are looking at and saying, if you're the first overall pick, you're picking best player available. Don't go for need because that's how you make mistakes. You pick best player available, and that's Matthew Schaefer.
So I'd like to step in here with a couple of thoughts. So this is more of just like a scouting question in general. We say this jokingly sort of on the show when we have this discussion that it's like a Canadian media bias as to why Schaefer is, like we saw the Bob McKenzie segment on TSN where, he said that 10 out of 10 scouts had Schaefer number one and 7 out of 10 say that there's a pretty large gap between Schaefer and Higgins. Is there a thing where, maybe there is maybe a little truth to the joke here where a large majority of these high-end scouts that have this profile are Canadian? And, I don't know, it always looks better for Canada when the first overall pick is Canadian versus American, or are we just reading into much of a joke here?
I think it's reading into it a bit more because the one thing I've noticed is there's a lot more American-born scouts than we've ever seen, especially in the NHL. So that's becoming more of a thing where it's not just a lot of Canadians doing it. One thing that scouts will notice is James Higgins is playing in arguably the best developmental league in the world right now. Like the NCAA is older players, tougher competition. The one thing that gets the big knock there is the schedule is not as hard to play against. Like you're playing 2 games a week, and a lot of times you will be playing against teams that are just not even close to being competitive. Like the NCAA is a very fun league to watch, but there's a lot of teams in that league across the NCAA that just aren't competitive in the slightest. At the same time, a lot of those teams in the CHL too, and going out there and beating up against 17, 18-year-old guys is not as impressive as going out there and outplaying 20 and 21-year-olds like James Higgins is doing. But I think what Schaefer's been able to do at every level for the last couple of years with just having to be the guy at all times is very impressive. So I think it's still really close. Like you could make the argument that Higgins could go number one and you can say, yep, you could feel confident about that. those are the only two guys I feel really 100% confident going number one with.
Oh, sorry. I have one more
Okay.
that I wanted to jump in here with because my first question was pretty dumb. But I am curious, like, because we're talking about a team here. You know, there's a Blackhawk show, currently 31st out of 32 teams, only ahead of the San Jose Sharks right now, who are dreadful. So the people here want progress, like they want next steps taken. They want this hockey team to show like that the players in the organization are taking that next step. And I think a lot of people are also calling for external help to be brought in, whether that's like from a trade or however, free agency, however it gets done. That being said, are any of these kids that we're talking about ready to step into an NHL lineup next year? Or would Schaefer and James Higgins both be better served, going back to junior hockey or college for another season?
See, Higgins is technically, I shouldn't say technically, he is a 2006 born player. So he is older than Schaefer, who is an 07. So he's had a bit more of a development year, essentially one extra year over Schaefer. And it feels like, he should be able to go there. I don't think he's going to stick another year at the NCAA. With Schaefer, if he didn't get hurt at the World Juniors, he stayed healthy the rest of the year, I think he goes straight to the NHL. I guess the one way he wouldn't is, I think he's skilled enough to do so, but I think it's going to be just trying to have one season of consistency, playing a lot of games, not going from missing the start of one season and the middle of another season or middle of that same season and then going straight to the NHL. Like, that's difficult. So I do feel pretty confident that Hagen should be there. Schaefer, I could see it based off of his pure skill, but at the same time, the team that drafts him might be looking at this and say, we want to just, but we don't need to rush you here. You missed a bunch of time. But the fact that scouts are still going with him number one and saying that, like, it's going to take James Higgins being like a superstar over the next couple of weeks to really kind of overtake him, that shows you really how much scouts really like Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah.
So a question I want to ask is, I feel like still being hyper fixated and worried about prospect size in 2025 is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, just because we just see it like every year or two. It's like, oh, this is an undersized guy. Like, will his game translate to the NHL? And then it's like Cole Caulfield and Alex DeBrincat, and they're completely fine. They do well. And like even guys like Jack Hughes, so like it feels dumb to be worried about it, but do I have a right to be a little concerned about drafting a guy like James Higgins when the Blackhawks have drafted Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore, all these guys who are like, I don't want to say they're all similar skill sets, but they're all like undersized skill players. Like, is that not a little concerning for the Blackhawks moving forward? Like when you're in a 7-game series in the postseason and your entire top six is below 6 feet and like 195 pounds?
There's an argument for it for sure. I think these kids are still growing. We don't see a ton of guys grow after they turn 18. So there's that. But Higgins has legitimately grown a little bit. I think he's grown 2 inches in the last year and a half, but he's also just added a lot of muscle. So that's why I'm not too concerned there. I think when it comes to this, you're just looking at the guy that's going to make your team the best team possible, and picking a guy who's slightly bigger over someone who's smaller due to the size factor. Like, sure, that works, but I know some teams that, like, when Lawson Krause went as high as he did in the draft, like, there was some skill that was left on the table because there were teams that were, I'm going with him as an example because he was kind of taken because he was big, but there were other players that were a bit more skilled. But our smaller players having a bit of a better time in the NHL than we saw maybe 10, 15 years ago. Sure, it's still an outlier. But to me, 5'11" is in about 180 pounds, which is what I've been told he's most recently at, isn't that small. Could he be a bit taller? Yeah, but I feel like there's a lot more muscle than I think people are really giving him credit for. And we've seen it in a shot this year where he's firing these things like a missile in a way that we had not seen before.
Okay. So don't be too worried.
When it comes to him specifically, I'm not worried, especially the way that he's so hard to hit. That's the thing. He's been so slippery. We've seen them against some really big defensemen at both college and internationally where these guys are trying to aim for him and they just can't because he's a good enough skater that gets themselves out of those situations.
So we talked a lot about, this year's draft prospects, but amongst this Blackhawks prospect pool, who would you say are your favorite Blackhawks prospects at the moment?
It's definitely Oliver Moore. I think that's a guy that you can kind of fill in a lot of different roles. Is he probably going to be a top line player? No. Could he play top line? Maybe. If you need him on the wing, sure. Could he go out and play in the power play? Yeah. I think with him, the way he skates, the way he works, the way he hustles out there. Like there's very few prospects like him. And he's a type of player that you want in your organization because he is going to make himself difficult to play against. I think when we saw him move to the second line of the World Junior team for the Americans, that line became so much more dangerous because he had to go out there and replace Cole Eiserman, who's like a pure goal scorer. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Moore was a better fit for that line because when he didn't have the puck, he was so good chasing after guys. And that's his thing. Like, you don't have the puck for a majority of the game, and the majority of the time you're on the ice. So go out there and be good at playing without the puck. And that's what he does so well, and what his coaches over from college and junior hockey have all said. It's like, this is a guy that if you need something done, he doesn't need to score to be effective. And that's because he'll go out there and defend. He'll go out there and chase you down, and he's got the speed to kill you. So it'd be interesting to see how he translates to the NHL, because I feel like he's a type of guy that almost is too fast for some of the guys he plays with. And you go to the NHL where everyone's a bit better skater, feels like he might be able to thrive a bit.
Are you, so I think your coworker at Daily Faceoff, Frank Sarvalli, compared Sam Rinzel to Brock Faber. Are you kind of on that same wavelength a little bit here? Because a lot of fans are excited about Rinzel.
I think you don't find guys who could put up the points that he has with that type of size. And would you say wouldn't say he's 100% like Brock Faber, but you see the way that he moves out there, the way he takes space away. Yeah, there's some comparisons there. And I like what he brings to the table there. I think he looks like a guy that can play in big moments because nothing seems to phase him. He's always been a guy that has a good head on his shoulders, doesn't get drawn into taking stupid penalties, isn't going to make dumb mistakes. Like when the pressure's on, he looks good. And the University of Minnesota is a good team. Like we expect him to go far, and he should be a key piece of that. But I think he's a guy that should have no issues going to the NHL when he's done school, because he's got that size, mobility, the hockey brain, and he's actually a pretty good offensive defenseman, which I think a lot of scouts were wondering if he was going to be able to do that in college, but he is.
If the Blackhawks get the first overall pick and don't want to take defenseman Matthew Schaefer, should they trade down?
That's a question that gets asked a lot about every team every year, and it never happens. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. It's hard to do a trade that makes sense, because I think this year, with how many, it has to be a team that's willing to, it won't be a top 4 team. And the problem is there is a drop after number 4. Victor Eklund's a good player. Roger McQueen's good. With Eklund, he's having a bit of a drought right now. Roger McQueen hasn't played since, I think, early October.
And is it a back injury?
Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation if we saw with Caden Lidstrom there. So after that 4, there's a drop off, and then you're looking at this and saying, okay, well, trading out's pretty dangerous unless you really get a lot out of it. But trading down just doesn't happen. It's always talked about, never happens in the top 5. I don't see it happening here.
So in that same vein of trading on the draft floor here, the Hawks currently have 3 second-round draft picks right now. Depending on how things go at the trade deadline, we could be looking at them acquiring even more capital going into it. What do you think the cost is for the Hawks? Because they also own the Maple Leafs first-round pick this year, acquired in the Jake McCabe deal. Just curious your thoughts as to could they, Lee here is very high on, could Kyle Davidson potentially even have a second top 5 pick, a second, maybe not top 5, top 7, what would be the way to sort of trade up in this draft? Or is that even is that even not something that really happens that often anymore?
Most of the time we see trading up, we're talking mid 15th and below, right? It's very rare that we see 2 teams or a team have 2 picks that high, because teams just see the value in keeping those picks. So it seems difficult to me. It feels like if the one team was ever going to trade down and the Blackhawks be able to move up, would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they obviously traded that pick away, because the Leafs have done that the last couple of years under a different scouting department, though, where they were basically just moving down a couple spots to get the guy they want. But I think, at some point, you kind of want to turn these picks into actual players, right? And have a good prospect pool. I made the argument last year. It's like, hey, maybe they should start buying. I know they're not great, but you want to go and get those pieces of who's going to play with Bedard long term, who's going to go out there and are you confident in the goaltending you have long term? It felt like last year. Again, I was probably on an island there, but it felt like, hey, let's start actually building towards not just getting all these prospects. Go out there and get some guys who could help in the immediate future. But we'll see what happens there.
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, to your point about trading up in the top 5, the Hawks did try to do that last year, right? They got their coveted prince of the blue line there, Artie Levshunov, and tried to trade up and get Betsy's complimentary piece. I imagine they wanted to draft Demidov, and obviously the Blue Jackets did take the bait there. Right? A lot of teams just don't accept those deals. So just for me, I think I don't have a question here. I think for the Hawks, right, you already pass up that piece last year. You take a defenseman. For me, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that again. But again, that's just me. Yeah.
I will say if the team is still near the bottom next year, there's some pretty good forward pieces to go and get. So again, it's just whether or not, if you're going to take Schaefer, knowing that's the best defenseman you have, you've instantly upgraded your blue line. You make someone like Kevin Korchinski valuable in a trade. Teams would want him. You can move him to go and get a forward. But forwards that can be impact players are not hard to find at the draft. We see that every year. 2026 looks like a pretty solid draft. 2027 should have some good guys. So I guess it just really depends on what their timeline for being competitive. Because if they're willing to wait, they can go out there and get Gavin McKenna next year, who's a winger. Connor Bedard's like distant cousin. But Gavin McKenna is about to have a season as good or better than anything we've ever seen from Connor Bedard in the junior level. So that could be a target next year, but you got to get that first overall pick to make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds great, but I know a lot of Hawks fans will lose their minds of another tank season. I think we probably would on this show as well. But yeah, that would be ideal. Right? In that case, you almost don't want to get the first pick this year, right? Get the second, so you could still get that first pick next year. At least have a chance at it, right? Yeah.
That's the thing. Like if you're going to get a first pick in either of those 2 years, I would want it 2026, just because Gavin McKenna is that good.
Yeah.
On paper, that makes sense. But I just like this Blackhawks organization could not get through another year of what's happening this season. Like Kyle Davidson will get fired. If we're this far into next season and we're in the same spot and we're like, oh, we might be able to get Gavin McKenna, he's going to be fired. There's going to be organizational change. I don't think Connor Bedard is going to want to be sitting through in another atrocious season like he's dealt with this year and be like, oh, don't worry, we're going to have a 25% chance of getting my fourth cousin. Like that just seems like something that's not going to happen. I've been pretty adamant on this show about like, this should be the last draft that we're like really putting our chips in. And we've got, you talk about how next year's like a deeper draft. We've got a first round pick, only one first round pick next year, but then we've got 3 seconds next year. If you take Schaefer first overall, and then package a Korchinski in a couple seconds from next year in our late first round this year, you don't think we could like all that? You don't think a team's going to be like, yeah, we'll bite on that?
History shows you no, but it's definitely possible, especially this year because there is that drop off at number 4. Like you can like one guy to be interesting to get is if you want another good center with a bit more size, like Caleb Denoyer is a guy that continues to win at every level he plays in. And you could probably get him closer to number 10 or number 9 and things like that. And if you can, like Roger McQueen was definitely an attractive option because you don't find guys often like him. And now I say that as Caden Lidstrom was basically the same thing last year. But when you don't find guys that are like really big, but also skate so well and drive the offense, Roger McQueen would be a good pick, but then you're taking a chance on someone who's been hurt most of the season. So it's some risky moves there, but if you get Schaefer, that makes Korchinski available, and that's all of a sudden their number 1 best trade piece. There's a couple other guys that can move. Maybe they move Levshunov, probably not, but I think that there'll be some interesting options opened up. And for me, you can never have enough good defensemen because, Colorado had some pretty good young prospects on the blue line at one point, and they still took Cale Makar.
Yeah.
It worked out for them.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about the Hawks have the first or second pick, right? Because that's where we are standings wise right now. But like, what if we have, let's say, the 3rd pick and Higgins and Schaefer are, God forbid, off the board? I know we all hope to get at least one of those guys. But if those 2 are off the board, who would you say is the main guy you look at? Like, that's who the Hawks should draft in number 3 or 4, something like that.
At 3.
Yeah.
It's real to me. Misa and Martone are super close. Like Misa can play that center in the wing. He's got a great shot. I think my one concern is he doesn't do a ton defensively. It isn't going to go out there and hit guys. But then you get Porter Martone who plays this Matthew Tkachuk style where he can fire shots. He can play on the power play. He's a proven leader. He's been a captain in both the OHL and with Canada's junior team. And then you can also, he will hit guys and fight guys. He'll do all that stuff. He's a really skilled, tenacious player. But then some of his off puck game is a bit of an issue there in his own zone. To me, it's still, I don't want to pick one or the other. I do have Michael Misa as the number 3 prospect in my draft. And it's for him, it's if you need a guy that's going to go out there and win you the game, get the one shot that makes it count, Michael Misa is probably the best for that in this entire draft. But I also like the way that Porter Martone clears lanes and knocks guys down and makes himself hard to play against. So it's tough. I think right now, if I'm having to do it, I pick Misa because if you put him on the wing and you work on the centers long term, I think he becomes very quickly a 70, 80 point guy playing with Connor Bedard. But I guess we'll have to see there.
Okay, so we're going to try and get some rapid fire in here. Just guys in the middle of the first round, because the Hawks do have that, as of right now, that Maple Leafs pick. So, that could be somewhere anywhere between 20 and 30. Maybe they do move up. Maybe they try and get another pick. I'm a big fan of some players like Kayshawn Aitchison. I like Logan Hensler too, out of the Wisconsin team right now. Brady Martins just seems like a really strong-headed kid. Malcolm Spence has been like consistently a good prospect for a little bit of time now. I'm just kind of curious who you're, a fan of. I like Blake Fiddler a lot too. Anybody whose dad was that long of an NHLer, like definitely knows what it takes to make it, and that, the journey that's ahead of him after the draft, right? I'm just curious who you like in the middle of the draft right now.
See, I have Kayshawn Aitchison at number 7. That's higher than most. I think it's because that might be the most competitive player in this draft. Yeah. And he's so hard to play against. I've talked to players who say, like, I see him in the corner, I don't want to go near him because he's going to kill me. And he's going to go out there and be so dangerous to play against. I call him the Punisher. But that's just on the physical side of things. Defensively, he's an absolute beast. I think he's a bit of an underrated offensive producer. Is he going to be a big-time producer in the NHL? I don't think so. But you have him in your top 4, and he's going to be hard to play against, which when you're looking at defense, that's kind of important, right? Yeah. I love Brady Martin, just one of the hardest working wingers you're going to find forwards in this draft. His numbers, you look at them, nothing too crazy there. The Greyhounds, he doesn't have a lot to play with though. Like that's a team that's not very good, and he's going out there and still playing at a point per game pace, and he's very good away from the puck. A guy like my favorite prospect in last year's draft was Teddy Stiga, and you might remember him as the guy who scored the game
for golden goal.
It was only shot in the entire tournament. But that's someone who last year played with James Higgins, and there was a reason why. It's because he was going out there and forcing players to make quick moves because he was going to hit you. He was going to bring that speed, and he's got some good skill there too. I think Stiga is going to be a very good NHL player. I think it'll be a very good piece of that World Junior team specifically next year. But like Brady Martin is like that. This year's Teddy Stiga, a guy that I think can play so many different roles. Probably not going to be a top 6 guy in the NHL, but might be the best third liner you're going to find in the entire NHL. So really like what Brady Martin brings. And if you get a chance to draft him, you want to take him because he can do so much. Imagine, I've been saying this for a while. Imagine if he had better line mates to play with. Imagine if he played on a competitive team. Imagine if he played for the London Knights. He might be a top 10 prospect this year.
Ooh. All right, which one of you wants to ask the Cancerov question? Justin?
Yeah, the Hawks fans are pretty excited about Roman Cancer, what he's doing in the KHL right now at that young of age, putting up numbers, U20 numbers pretty similar to the likes of Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, what would you say is, when you look at Roman Cancer, what do you think he could look like as an NHL player? What's his ceiling like? Yeah.
He's a skilled guy that I think you can probably put him with other skilled guys, and he's going to make things work. Like he's a good skater. He's a very good passer. You see the numbers he's having this year, and it's like it's not like that's totally a surprise because he's always been really productive, at least when his own age group. Last year, he played the full year in the pro league and didn't put up great numbers, but you saw that potential that he had when he was playing in the MHL the year before that. So really shifty guy, hard to hit, loves controlling the puck. The one concern is he's not big, and the physical elements can really hurt him at times. It feels like he's just almost a little he was not great physically in his draft year, and it feels like that hasn't changed. But I think that you can look at him as being, a secondary scoring guy, maybe even just a complimentary forward that goes out there and does a lot of things with the puck that you like, is always looking to create offense. I think he's going to be a decent NHLer.
Yeah, and we've also got Nick Lardis, who's been absolutely, lighting up in juniors. And I don't know, I feel like when people are talking about comparing prospect pools of San Jose and Chicago, people are like, oh, Chicago doesn't really have much forward talent. But it's like, we do have a lot of guys that are lighting up different leagues around the world that are on the younger side, but are going to be falling in here. It's not really a question, but I do have a question, rapid fire. Sliding out of maybe the top 10, who do you think is has the most potential to kind of slide down this year's draft?
Oh, falling down. Well, so far we already know it's Ivan Ryabkin. Definitely fallen off. I think maybe closest to the top 10 would be Anton Frundell, a guy that a lot of people looked at as a top 5 this year. But the big thing for him was that he was not he's been injured way too many times. I think we're at 4 or 5 injuries since the start of 2024, the calendar year 2024. So that doesn't really help. And it feels like some scouts are looking at it and say, is he a guy that can go out there and win you a game when you need to? I don't think so, but he's really smart, really good playmaker, excellent shot. That's a guy who you give him an open space, especially on the power play, he's going to make you pay. I think it's just our scouts worried about the fact that he's been injured so many times in such a short span that it is going to be difficult for him to kind of go. Like with Schaefer, he's had the one injury before. It was another health issue, but when it comes to Frundell, it's a bunch of compounding injuries. So there's some concern there, but I think that at his core, there's still a lot to like.
So this is a different kind of question. There's been this narrative online, Lee alluded to this, that the San Jose Sharks rebuild is miles ahead of the Hawks rebuild. Would you agree with that take? Because I think we have some pushback to that.
I don't think so. There's certain things. The thing about San Jose is they're still lacking a number 1 defenseman. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's if the Sharks take...
They need Schaefer more, probably, right?
Yeah, Schaefer would be so much more valuable for them. And then it becomes, I think, an easier question for the Blackhawks. That's the thing. You almost don't want them to pick first overall.
Yep.
Because you don't want to be in your own power to be this. Obviously, most years that's not a bad thing, but most years you have a clear number 1 prospect. You just don't have that this year. But San Jose, they've got the goalie advantage. I think that Askarov is the best goalie prospect in the game right now. Didn't have a great game last night, but his advanced analytics are showing that, he's going to be a really good goalie. You look at Celebrini, I think that maybe he's a bit more of a complete player than Connor Bedard, but who would I rather have to go out there and win you the game? It's Connor Bedard. So they're kind of not too far from each other, but I think the Blackhawks, the one thing they do have is a bit more depth, a bit more high-end depth. I don't know, because as good as Levshunov, to me, was the top prospect heading into the season for Blackhawks. For the Sharks, it was Celebrini and Will Smith. That's better than what you're going to get from the Blackhawks. But the depth, I do think the Blackhawks have the advantage. And then the other thing there is Askarov, if it doesn't work out there, I don't think they've got another goalie coming up that's going to be anywhere as good as what you have with the Blackhawks, where if everything goes well, Adam Gayon and Drew Comesso are both pretty solid prospects on their own. So I'd say they're pretty similar.
So yeah, I would say the one area the Hawks have a clear advantage would be the decor. Hint.
Yeah, that's a very easy one. The Sharks, Muka Madulin was their top defensive prospect, and it truly doesn't, other than maybe Sam Dickinson, who I've got my concerns with. But when it comes to Shakir Muka Madulin, it just felt like all that really big hype that we saw from him when he got traded to the Sharks and looked good last year has kind of fallen away from just a mediocre season at best in the AHL.
So I have 2 quick ones that are just sort of, maybe more, what am I trying to say here? Broader questions as opposed to team specific. Is this a down year for European prospects? It feels like it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely is. Finland, I don't have a single prospect in my top 64.
Wow.
And maybe not even one of the top 75 if I were to upgrade that a bit. Sweden, it's good, not great. A couple guys near the top, but that's about it. Russia, it's really struggling. Most of those best Russians are 2nd, 3rd round guys at best. They've got some decent goalies coming out of Europe, but for the most part, yeah, this is truly a big North American time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about 20 players coming out of the CHL in general.
Wow.
In the first round.
And then the last broader question one, this one was asked by a listener, is pushing the draft eligibility age back a possibility? I think I heard Frank or Merrick bring it up recently, but I didn't hear their full argument. Is this something people are talking about?
Yeah, it is something that is definitely being discussed. It seems like there hasn't been enough push to make it happen in the near future, but definitely not this year. But it brings up some interesting questions because you are seeing a bigger push of teams drafting guys that were passed over once or twice, or in some cases Europeans that are passed over 3 times. So they, especially, I think what happened was when we had seasons and everything disrupted due to COVID, teams had to go back and look at guys they'd seen a lot from a previous year that wasn't taken and say, okay, should we reevaluate those guys? And I think it's kind of pushed the mindset of, okay, maybe we should be drafting later. I kind of have no strong opinion either way, but I do think that just so much physical and mental development happens, 17, 18, 19, that pushing it back an extra year probably wouldn't hurt anybody.
Yeah. I agree. You guys got anything else? Steven, you've been really generous with your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Really enlightening.
I do have one more, if that's okay. We have a member of the community who earlier this week was pumping Jake O'Brien's tires a lot on the show, and I'm not too familiar with him. Do you have anything to tell me about that guy, and where do you think he could fall?
O'Brien, for me, I was a little low on him at first. I think I had him kind of near 20. I think now we're looking at him probably in the 10 to 20 range, and maybe latest 25. He's having actually a really good season with Brantford in the OHL. Started off a little slow, but really has picked it up in the last few months. And I think that we saw him at the OHL top prospect game, where the big thing he was doing was he was on that top line for his team, but he was the one driving the play all game long. He was the one making those plays, the one bringing the puck into the zone and distributing it the way he needed to. Very good playmaker, but he still might score 40 goals this year in the OHL. So I really like what he does. I think that there could be a lot of, him and Nick Lardis are good friends. And Nick Lardis, actually, to go back to him, Lardis is a guy, I think I saw him for the first time when he was 10 years old.
Wow.
Because he's from Oakville, which is where I'm from, and saw him playing at rinks when I was waiting for other games. And you could see that was a guy who knew how to shoot the puck. But when it comes to O'Brien, I think he continues to get better as a point producer, but he's also a really good two-way player. So there's a lot to like there. I think we're talking about a top 15 prospect.
All right.
Awesome.
Steven, thank you so much for doing this, especially on such short notice.
Yeah, you're the perfect guy to have on today, so we appreciate you.
Yeah, these guys were about to, go at each other's throats here, whether it was Schaefer or Hagen. So at least
gonna say one now because you were on his side there. That's definitely why he wants you on.
I will say this. Last year I was all on pick Ivan Demidov at number 2. That's the best player available. It's no question about it. Mm-hmm. This year I'm a more like,
it's debatable. Yeah.
If you take Schaefer, you take Hagens, you can be happy no matter what.
Okay.
That's fair.
Good to know.
That's a happy.
Yeah, we're still gonna argue about it, but good to know.
Yeah, thank you.
If you're not worrying about the playoffs, I think the one thing is the Blackhawks probably, again, if they don't want to be at the bottom next year, they should probably start losing a bit more because the San Jose Sharks keep building their advantage right now. I update the draft lottery odds every day for Daily Faceoff, and it feels like at this point, it's like, man, the Sharks continue to get worse. It's time for Blackhawks to get even worse than that.
We got to step up our tank game.
They can't defend. I watched that game against Nashville last night. Oh my gosh, they can't defend anything. It was like they had 3-goal deficits like 2 different times in the game. They stink.
Well, it's a thing. It's like I got a message from someone yesterday. It's like, man, Askarov sucks. I'm like, I don't think Connor Hellebuyck fused with Igor Shesterkin could have saved that team yesterday.
Yeah.
They are a tough team to watch defensively. And it's funny because I actually find them an entertaining team. Like, you never know what you're going to see when you watch the Sharks. But defensively, man, that team is a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Everybody, that was Steven Ellis from Daily Faceoff, top prospect man in the game and my favorite prospect guy in the game. So thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun, fellas.
Yeah,
that was great. That was a fun little debate there. Yeah, are we going to continue the debate, or are we going to transition to to something else?
Oh, I mean, we can a little bit, because it's like the picture he painted, and he kind of agreed with you, Tassos, about like you almost don't want to have the first pick just because then you have to make the decision. But also, it's like I feel like even stronger for my case, if you pick first overall, you don't want to leave, the best the best player at first overall for the San Jose Sharks at who will probably be number 2. You know, like I know that we've had the Bedard Celebrini debate, but it's like in a few years, the San Jose Sharks and the Chicago Blackhawks are both going to be very good teams and, you know, both coming out of the West. So do you want to give a team that has as bright of a prospect pool as San Jose has, do you want to give them a true number 1?
I mean, there's a question at hand there, but I look at the other way and think like if I look at the offense of both teams, the forward squads, I'd say the Sharks are probably have the advantage there compared to us, right? Yes, we have a large quantity of forward prospects, but I don't think we have like enough surefire star players there. So I just look at that as a need. It's like we need to pick a 4 from that aspect. But from your point, that is a good point you bring up, though. It's like I think defense is probably their weakness, right? I know they have some guys that prospect pool, but then you give them Schaefer, all of a sudden, bam! It's like you have him, they have a Scarve and Net, you know, obviously up front, you know, you're loaded Brady, Will Smith, etc. It's like you almost kind of what there's argument to take Schaefer less for us and more just to screw them over so they don't get that number 1 D. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sold yet, but I see your point there. I think that was the point you were making. I see it. Yeah.
It's just like if they get Schaefer, we're never beating Sharks fans in the like prospect, you know, narrative. They're going to be PR merchants until both these teams are competitive. Because
they're always going to be PR merchants, man. Look at the different narratives of this taking stuff. We both have the same amount of points. You know, with them, it's like, oh, it's an ethical tank, right? You know, they have such a bright future with them. And then with us, it's like, oh, an embarrassment to the league. They don't deserve it. It's like, oh, it's so funny the different ways the media talks about our rebuilds. It's pretty fun.
I really do think, though, that a lot of that is because of the style that Luke Richardson was having this team play. Because it's like San Jose, I mean, dude, look at their scores last night. I bet on that game, and I just bet completely wrong last night. I took the under, and I took San Jose, and if you know the score, it was 6-5 Nashville. The thing about San Jose is they're just like going out there. They've got good forward prospects and, you know, young forwards, I should say, not prospects because they're all playing in the NHL, but they're kind of just like trying to outscore all of their problems. And it's kind of what we wanted this Blackhawks team to be this year.
And we've kind of been doing it a little bit more under sorts.
Exactly.
We've been playing more San Jose Sharks, which is like, that's like funner hockey to watch when you're a team that sucks and like is rebuilding and tanking. Like that's the kind of hockey I want to see, right? So that's why I think we talked about this. Like I don't regret the firing Richardson and hiring Swords. I think it was the right call. Is he the guy? No, but I think it makes the rest of the season a lot more watchable because we're watching the kids, right? We're watching the future. So that's been fun to watch.
All right. Plenty of time in the near and far future to discuss prospect talk.
I'm juiced.
Yeah, no,
I'm juiced.
That was a 3v1 out there, man.
No, I was helping you. I wasn't trying to like stab.
Yeah,
because also it's like I don't know. You know, I might be wrong. Like, you know, drafting James Higgins might be the better move. The reason why I've shifted to Schaefer is just because I can totally see him being like a Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, and then we're talking about how we passed that guy up to right after Ivan Demidov. It's just like, it's damage control for my own brain. I don't want to be watching a bona fide superstar for number 1 defenseman in 2 years and being like, yeah, we could have taken that guy, but we didn't because we have Kevin Korchinski and Ethan Del Mastro.
Yeah, but like if James Higgins ends up being like the Rantanen to like McKinnon or like, you know, the Malkin to Crosby, if he's like Bedard's like Robin, his side piece, his like sidekick, I don't think I'm really going to care about what Schaefer's doing. That's my counterpoint.
I guess. I feel like there's so much more risk in not taking Schaefer. That's where I'm coming from.
That's fair. All right. I think, like Tassos said, we'll have plenty more time to discuss this. Do we want to get into, what we want to transition to next?
Well, I was going to say the guys on the actual hockey team wearing the jersey play a game.
Oh, tonight. Yeah, those guys. Really?
Yeah, they do in fact play a game tonight against the not Stanley Cup contender Tampa Bay Lightning, and also we have a matchup on Sunday with the Minnesota Wild.
I think that's a Hockey Fights Cancer Night, right? Did you see the Hawks yesterday at practice? This was pretty cool. They had like a cancer survivor there, like Colton Dock, Alex Vlasic were like racing on the sleds with the kid. That was pretty cool. So yeah, pretty props to them there. I also want to shout out Hagel's Bagels on Instagram. He's dealing with cancer too. He's beating it right now. So I want to give a shout out to that guy. That's my boy over there. So yeah, shout out Hagel's Bagels.
The kid's name they brought out was Stephen Fulton. They brought him out to practice yesterday. That was really a nice touch by them.
Very nice.
In the middle of a season where it can kind of get monotonous and, you know, you forget why you do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Big picture.
Yeah.
I feel like the Blackhawks always do like really cool stuff for Hockey Fights Cancer. So good on them.
They're giving out. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say classy organization. I'm like, people won't be able to tell you that, but it's true. There's a classy organization.
Doing their best. Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving away beanies too for the first 10,000 fans in attendance. Hockey Fights Cancer beanies. So
yeah, Bedard was wearing a Hockey Fights Cancer jersey, and he's also wearing a purple beanie there. So that was pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is probably the toughest stretch that the Blackhawks have had in a while. Feels like it's always been like couple of tough games mixed in with like a couple of games that are, nothing's a layup here for the Hawks, but games that if you were a good team would be layups, right? But this is just like boom, 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 like playoff team.
Pretty much every game leading up,
contenders.
Yeah,
pretty much every game leading up to the Four Nations break is against playoff teams. I'm pretty sure, which I actually think that's probably a good thing for this Hawks team. Because like, how many times do we talk about this on the show? This team steps up against tougher competition, so this might be exactly what the Hawks need, actually, to be honest. But yeah, it's like your point today. It's like I almost forgot this team existed. We've gone like this whole week without playing. That's the NHL schedule, people, for you. So, but yeah, good to get back into it tonight. Hopefully, we'll have an entertaining game. And yeah, Sunday as well. I'm probably gonna be pretty sleepy for that game because I'm gonna try to watch the entire. I do it every year. Stephen Ellis, I'm sure, will do it too, where I try to watch the entire 24 hours Daytona race. I'm probably gonna try to do that tomorrow. So I might be pretty not into that Sunday game. We'll see if I successfully pull it off. Yeah.
That's a haul.
That is a haul.
For tonight's game, dude, I'm gonna be saying this for probably every single game for the rest of the season, dude. I'm so excited to watch Frank Nazar and Connor Bedard play hockey together. Like you talk about how the Sharks have Celebrini and Smith, and it's like what we've seen from Frank Nazar, and Tassos has made this point on the show, is like,
you think he could be better than Will Smith?
I mean, he could be a player of that like upper echelon, like that a true top line guy. I think we're seeing improvement from him every single time he's on the ice. He looks so good. He's changed the way this team has played. You talk about the past like few games that the Blackhawks have had, specifically because they moved Nazar on the line with Bedard.
Arguably, he's been the best player on the ice.
Even though we've lost like 2 of the past 3, we've been so much more competitive, and I really do think that it's because Frank Nazar has completely changed the dynamic of this team. It's given us a true offensive threat that we've been lacking. So
you think Frank Nazar could be the Robin? He could be that second guy. In which case, maybe the Hawks do have to draft Schaefer. I'm just kidding. I'm gassing you up over there.
You're cooking now, buddy.
I think he's more likely the 2C, but I think for now, right, because there's nobody else to play there, I think it makes sense, right, to have him on the wing of Betsy. It's more fun to watch, but I'm not sure for the long term the Hawks probably, if that's the plan, but we'll see, right? If he keeps cooking the rest of the season in that role, maybe he's the winger, right, in the first line, Betsy. We'll see.
Yeah, if they continue to look this good together, why would you move him? I mean, you got AJ Spellisy coming up for that 2C role anyway, so I don't even know what we're worried about.
Yeah, just kind of sign there, right? We'll see him next year. Illusion. That's right.
I should mention that the Wild will be on a second half of a back-to-back tomorrow. They did get Kirill Kaprizov back in the lineup, but they do host Calgary tomorrow night as well. So it will be quicker turnaround for them, where the Hawks will have the day off in between. I don't know if that maybe helps or hurts anything here, but
Lightning. I was just checking. No, the Lightning did not play last night. I was wondering if they were on a back-to-back there or not. So I was out of nothing there. But yeah, that could help the Hawks, right? That tends to, when you've played a game pretty recently, but you had a day off, and then the other team's on a back-to-back, it could be an advantage. Yeah.
All right. What else, fellas?
Well, we've got a big story.
What is that?
I mean, KD.
Seth.
Yeah, sitting out from the past couple Blackhawks games and being at Colorado Avalanche games.
Ooh. He's scouting Mikko Rantanen.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if it's like Rantanen or Middlestat or if it's Jones talk or what it is, but I feel like I've been seeing, because I follow Shy Hockey Radio on Twitter, please, or on X. I've been super active on there. And there's been a lot of Seth Jones talk that's picked up the past like 24 or 48 hours. I really did think that a Jones move wouldn't happen until like at least next year, just because of the right shot D-man situation that we have. But I don't know. It seems like, I don't know, this stuff. Like, do you guys not think that's a little interesting that KD?
Yeah, Yeah, the fact, I don't know if he's shopping Seth Jones. Maybe he's a future Avalanche shooter. We haven't really talked a lot about the Avalanche as a potential Seth Jones shooter. I think KD, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was also at a Denver game. So who's the coach of that team there?
I did not know that.
Just throwing it out there. I saw that at X. I'm like 99% sure. I'll try to get the source to you eventually here. But yeah, maybe he's scouting everybody over there. So good to see, right? KD's, I think he's got a very busy trade deadline ahead of him here. Busy offseason as we talked about. So clearly he's doing his homework now. We've got Chris O'Hearn in there too in the front office. So maybe there's some moves brewing here for the Hawks. We'll see. A lot to look forward to.
Yeah, to your point, Colorado is exactly where we want Kyle Davidson to be spending his time right now, since we've talked about, Rantanen so much on the show and Dave Carl. So, if one of those things could happen, I don't think Colorado's obviously not going to trade Mikko Rantanen right now.
So,
sizing them up for the offseason, right? They're having trouble, right? The Avs are thinking 12.5, 12.6. He's like, 14, right?
Yep,
so
it's been harder for
him.
him. What were you
and the Hawks have been a team connected to him, right?
So, look, fellas, I don't know how you go to Nathan MacKinnon and say, hey, we're moving Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah.
We just traded Mikko Rantanen for Seth Jones. I don't know how you actually do that. But if you let him walk for nothing, look, if I'm power ranking Stanley Cup contenders right now, where do the Colorado Avalanche fall for you guys? Because for me, it's probably 8.
I would say 10.
It's not like the year they won the Stanley Cup, right? Where they were
without Rantanen, they're cooked.
Well, even with Rantanen, no, I'm saying with Mikko Rantanen, as the Colorado Avalanche are currently constructed, where do you have them? List teams that you think can win the Stanley Cup this year. Edmonton, Florida, Dallas, Vegas, how far down the list do you go before you get to the Colorado Avalanche right now?
Just the thing about Colorado is when you're talking about true contending, winning four series, it's tough, but it's I just have so much respect for Makar and McKinnon that I really could see that they could.
It's so ridiculous.
They could win one series against anyone. I don't think they'll get all the way there, but I could see them upsetting a Dallas or a Vegas in the first round.
We are lagging pretty hard for some reason.
The kid has 75 points this year, dude. It's unreal what he's doing. It's 20 goals, 55 assists. So this season he's having something like that. Makar, right? He's with their Quinn Hughes, right? Just their top end is so good. It's even though they're lacking kind of that depth they had during those cup runs, it seems to kind of make up for it, right? They've been there, done that too, so that helps as well. So I don't know if I'd say they're one of my top Stanley Cup contenders, but I think in that next level, they're right there, somewhere in that 6 to 10 range. So yeah,
that would be insane though if a trade did happen.
What are you gonna do? Let him walk to free agency for nothing?
Yeah, it's a good point. And so are they really just that hung up over an extra $1.5 million, $2 million? Is that kind of why the negotiation has been difficult? Or are they trying to get him at 12 and he's like, no, I want 14? I did not picture that situation being as difficult as they said. I totally thought they were going to be able to re-sign him without any issue. So
yeah, because there's a dilemma there. The Avs would argue, well, McKinnon's making 12.6, so you should probably make it around the same as that. But then Ratner would argue the salary cap's going up, right? The market's changing with the Draisaitl contract, so I should be making this much. So yeah, it's definitely a dilemma they're facing over there. But like you said, you think they would have an easier time solving that, but it seems like it might be a trickier situation than we initially thought. Maybe we weren't being delusional. We've been saying it all show, right? Putting his name out there. Maybe we're onto something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
What would you trade for Mikko Rantanen? Would you trade Jones and Korchinski?
3 of my aunts, 2 of my uncle. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Dude, the kitchen sink. Yeah, I absolutely any defensive prospect, to be honest with you. Maybe Nazar and Bedard are the only guys, obviously, that I would not want to give up. But
what if you had to move Nazar?
Imagine a Rantanen, Bedard,
Nazar, Korchinski, and Jones for Mikko Rantanen. You get Seth Jones' full contract off the books, and you have the guarantee that Mikko Rantanen's going to sign a max term extension with you.
If we could substitute somebody for Nazar, I'd be all over that. I'm just not sure who it would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with Lee. I'm just so high on Frank Nazar. There's few players that I would even think about moving on from him. I think his ceiling is that high. People forget, scouts were saying it. In terms of the 2022 draft class, before his injury, people were saying he had the highest ceiling in that draft.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing that now, right? He's starting to come out of that looking like the same player. So yeah, I think he's just got such a bright future. I wouldn't want to move on from him.
I agree. I think this guy, like, he could be a superstar in the NHL.
Yeah,
like he definitely could do that. So, yeah, I don't know.
If you're trading Kevin, then maybe you do draft Schaefer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else, fellas? Anything? Do you want to do Friday mailbag questions?
Oh yeah, Friday mailbag. Let's do that.
We got a few questions in the tank here. Let me see. Oh, I should probably be looking at the right Instagram account to find the questions. All right. Is there any world? I mean, we kind of answered this, but just a bit more context here to the question. Is there any world where the Hawks win the draft lottery and trade down? Last time it happened was 2002. When Florida traded down since Columbus wanted Rick Nash and Atlanta wanted Kari Lehtinen. And all that was traded was Florida got the rights to swap picks with Columbus the next season. And I don't even think it mattered. If the Hawks really don't want Schaefer and we could get something for the pick, do we? I mean, Stephen Ellis kind of explained it, you know.
This isn't the NFL.
Yeah, like
if you're dropping outside the top 5, no. And that's what our draft correspondent Stephen Ellis just said would happen. It would be outside the top 5. So I would not want to. Yeah, I would do it if you're moving to like 2 or 3. But he made it seem like that's not possible. So no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's Hagen, Schaefer, then there's a gap, right? Misa, Marteau, and then there's like a massive gap, right? So if you're outside that top 4, top 5, yeah, it's not really wise to trade down.
All right, question for Friday. What do you think the long-term goaltending solution might be? Has Soderblom showed enough to earn himself a chance here in the future? Comesso looks like he has some high upside. Meanwhile, Guyon is kind of struggling in college right now. Goalies take a while to develop, like how Crawford played 5 years in the AHL before coming up. Do you think any of these are going to be the long-term solution? We should mention, like, you know, Stephen Ellis was pretty high on Guyon and Comesso being like a formidable 1-2 punch when, you know, he brought up Yaroslav Askarov being like, oh, well, if Askarov doesn't really work out for the Sharks, then the Hawks have the edge in that, and it's not even close. So
yeah, I mean, these guys are still so young, right? Honestly, I think there's a good chance Soderblom might be our starter next year if he isn't already right now, right? If we move on from Mrazek. So I think Soda for now, right? I don't know if he's a long-term solution, but he could be our guy, at least for the short term. I think he's had such a good season, right? But I've seen a lot of people like, yeah, Comesso, Guyon, like they're still so young. They have so much time. I know Guyon struggled at college, but it's really his first like full college season. So I mean, we saw him in the World Juniors. That performance he had was so impressive. KD drafted him basically solely off of that, right? And Comesso, right? He's having a better season if you look at it in Rockford, like the last month or so since he got sent back down when he made his debut. Like he's been having a good season there in Rockford, right? And like Crawford, like he said, right, spent a lot of seasons there developing. So I think you don't want to rush goaltenders, right? Could see Comesso maybe as a backup next year. I'd say probably another season of Rockford, right? And Guyon's a ways away, but that could be a good tandem there, right? And Soderblom's in the mix too. So again, a lot of ifs. I wouldn't say like any of these 3 guys are like surefire. That's your elite starting goaltender for the future, but they all are options, right? I mean, goaltenders are hard to predict.
Yeah, I'd kind of echo that a little bit. I'd just say that, no, I do not think we have like our long-term guy solidified at all yet. I do think that of those 3, I mean, I think they can all be potential options, but I think the Blackhawks have to be open to the fact that we might not have the guy yet. So still be on the lookout for if you can, you know, make a trade or another guy, if he's available in, you know, late 5th round, maybe drafting another guy. Be open to that. But as far as the Blackhawks hierarchy of needs, I would not put goaltending as even near the top.
Yeah, I think goaltending is like the easiest one to solve down the line too, right? You know, they don't always come through the draft, right? Sometimes it's free agency or trades. So yeah, you might not get that elite guy, but you'll get somebody solid there. Yeah.
All right. All these questions are the same, fellas. Everybody who's listening right now, learn to spice up your questions. Don't just ask us about who we would take first overall in the draft and ask us about Seth Jones. Yeah, because I'm looking at the Discord.
People want to know.
I know. I'm looking at the Discord right now. Your GM Kyle from Chicago, you somehow land number 1 overall in the 25 draft, so you cannot draft first overall in 2026. What do you do, and why is the answer take Schaefer if you can trade down to get Misa as well? Losing some combo of Korchinski, draft capital, Reichel, Ethan Del Mastro, and Kaiser. You know, if you listen to the first hour of this show, we kind of answered how we all individually feel about that. All right. This is a fun one, draft related. Who would you least want to win the draft this year out of likely first overall winners? In the end, it won't matter, but it's a fun question. Really?
Sharks. Yeah, we at least want to win. Yeah. I don't want the Sharks picking first, man. If they have the first pick, from the Hawks standpoint, I wouldn't mind having the second, but like I don't know if I want the Sharks making that call, if that makes sense, right? Because they're the team that we're closest with in terms of competition, the rebuild. Like we're going to be coming out of this thing probably around the same time. That's going to be our competition. We're going to be facing off. Right now, we're having tank battles. We're going to be having Western Conference battles in the near future, right? So I don't want them loaded up. So yeah, no.
All right, I'll give a different answer. I'll go the Buffalo Sabres, currently in last place in the Eastern Conference. Buffalo just has all these like young players. You know, they picked Darlene first. They picked Owen Power first. You know, what are they going to do? Draft Matthew Schaefer now first overall, get another high end, you know, left shot defenseman. Like, you know, they need to get like grown men in this lineup. And honestly, you know, I'm actually like talking myself out of it as I'm saying it because
that sounds like you want them to have the first overall pick.
Well, no, I don't.
I feel like they find a way to screw them up.
Yes, they would find a way to screw it up. Number one. But the only reason I might want the Sabres to have the first overall pick is that would probably create the most intrigue as far as like a team that would probably trade out of it, you know?
Or trade their other young talent.
Yeah, like maybe, you know, Owen Power to Chicago.
Yeah.
Owen Power to Chicago. I wouldn't mind that.
I would say I would agree with Justin. I think San Jose is like the worst outcome for the first. I would love for Buffalo to have the first overall pick just because, like, from a Blackhawks fan perspective, like, if somebody gets to take the first guy and we don't, like, I hope he doesn't work out, you know? Like, I don't.
And I'd rather they be another conference where we hardly play them. You know?
Yeah, I don't want it to be a situation where it's like their guy's way better than ours. So I am not going to be praying for whoever picks first overall if it's not us. I'm not going to be praying for their success. And yeah, I think Buffalo is just like, they need like a culture change. Like, they've got so many issues over there. I don't think another promising young talent is what's going to like move the needle for them.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want it to happen.
Well, I want it to happen because then it means nothing. It's like, okay.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Lots of trade rumors involving Seth Jones. Do you think he gets dealt? And if so, what could it look like? I personally don't think he will, just because of salary and role to the team.
I think he will. I know we've been seeing a lot more. I don't think it's going to happen this season. No, I know the talks have been increasing. Maybe there's a chance. I still think this is like maybe a season down the road type of deal. I still think there's some, credence to kind of keeping him here, letting these defensemen develop. And then when they've established themselves, then we can move on from him, right? So I think we will see it eventually, but I'm still not convinced that we're going to see it now, if that makes sense. But maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with you. The only reason why I'd be like, yeah, do it now is if like if his value goes down over the next couple of years, you're going to have to retain. So if you do it next year and he gets even worse, like you're going to have to retain more and more. So if you can make a deal now where you're not retaining much or anything, then go ahead and do it.
Oh, yeah, if we're not retaining salary, jump all over. I could care less what the return is. Like, that would be basically the return, is not having just getting that whole contract off our books. Yeah, give us a bag of bucks. We'll take it.
Yeah. Last one. Which 2025 UFA would you potentially be interested in, and for how much? I mean, we've talked
about this too.
Yeah, we've talked about Rantanen and Marner, but what about like some of the other guys that are available? Like I'm looking, I know, Justin's sick of defensemen, but if we're talking about getting National Hockey League players in here, Jacob Chychrun is a UFA this year. He's having an awesome season in Washington. I don't know what his next deal is going to look like, and I know you don't want another defenseman that's probably closer to a 3 than a 1 or a 2, making $9 million, but if you're able to maybe move on from Jones, like Jacob Chychrun is a guy that I would look to bring in. I think that would be a nice complementary piece.
Does he shoot right?
He shoots left.
No, I'm good.
All right. John Tavares is a UFA this year, although I would expect the Maple Leafs to sort of try and re-sign him. But, if you're the Hawks and you could make it like a shorter term deal, because I think the Maple Leafs aren't going to be able to resign. Like, they have Marner that they're trying to get done too. You're not going to be able to pay Tavares is making $11 million. You're hoping he takes a pay cut that's well under half of what he's currently making, and even still he's playing at a level that I wouldn't mind giving John Tavares, if I were the Blackhawks, 3 years at $6 million. I think that could be really a nice piece to sort of help shepherd along Connor Bedard. Brock Besser too is a UFA. My prediction with Besser is that he ends
Sounds like
up.
he's about to get traded, though.
Yeah. So my prediction, but that's more rumor than anything. Everything.
There's a lot of guys at Canuckland that sound like they're about to be traded. I feel like we've been hearing this for weeks now. When's it going to happen? Yeah.
But Besser's a Minnesota guy. My prediction is that he ends up a member of the Minnesota Wild by the time the summer rolls around. But if maybe the Wild decided to use their cap space elsewhere, maybe on a guy like Brock Nelson or someone like that, I could definitely see the Blackhawks being like a next best thing almost for Besser, and that's like an elite winger that you're bringing in. The other guys, Patrick Kane is UFA this summer.
Yes, showtime. Nah, KD will never do that, fortunately. Utter woke nonsense.
Sam Bennett, that's an interesting contract negotiation going down in Florida. Again, I assume they get it done with Bennett, but if not, like, there are going to be teams competing for his services, and that's
kind of a dog this team could use, to be honest with you. I'd be all over that if you're for the right price. Yeah,
that's like what people thought Tyler Bertuzzi would be. Sam Bennett actually is.
Yeah,
but Jersey has kind of been that the last month, though. To give him credit, like he's been actually he has been, I think, what Kyle envisioned the last.
But he's not
but he's not like nails punch him in the face.
I'm going to injure you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying like in terms. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I was thinking just in terms of production.
Somebody in chat, TJ in chat, like a little while ago said, "Real question is which of these kids willing to lick a guy's face or throw his glove off and choke a guy?"
Oh my gosh,
who's going to step up and lead this team?
He's not get. Brad Marchand's not coming to Chicago. Brad Marchand's not leaving Boston.
No. But to your point, that Sam Bennett will take his glove off and choke somebody. Tyler Bertuzzi is not that.
Yeah, we don't have a guy like that. So yeah, that could be our missing piece.
I'd go after Bennett, but I wouldn't want to be paying him whatever his contract is. I wouldn't want to still be paying it when he's 36 years of age.
Yeah,
which is probably what would happen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, or else just be a shorter term situation if that's the case. Yeah.
Other guys that I'm kind of interested in a bit here.
Jonathan Toews.
Jonathan Toews. Ivan Provorov is a UFA this season too. I could see something like that. If we're talking like bottom six pieces, I really like Jake Evans in Montreal, former Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think that would be maybe a good fit. I could see the Blackhawks going down that route if they're looking to.
Landon Slaggert.
Yeah. But I think that's like a legitimate like bottom six threat, like really good on the penalty kill, scores clutch goals.
Problem is we have 12 bottom six guys on this roster.
You're gonna move. Yeah, but Jake Evans is like a legitimate like Stanley Cup playoff. Like I'm sorry, but Pat Maroon isn't like a real contributor come Stanley Cup playoff time. Like he's not anymore. Like he's not. This isn't.
Yeah, he's just there for the. He's just there for the like Shoresy veteran presence.
He's there for the vibes.
Guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I like Yanni Gourde also in Seattle. I could see him getting moved to a contender before this, but. Like if he's moved to a team like the Maple Leafs, I could see them not being able to re-sign him, just being like a pure rental almost.
Yeah.
So Yanni Gourde maybe. There's other guys out there. Christian Dvorak too, Brandon Tanev. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of options for the Hawks this year in the UFA market. We'll see.
Brandon Tanev. He loves doing his little look. Yeah, I love that.
Alex Iafallo in Winnipeg, he's having a really nice, he's been good for the man that they fleeced that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Like I know the Kings sort of recouped it, but like, man, you gave up Gabe Vilardi and Alex Iafallo and Rasmus Kupari and a second round pick.
Yeah, they really fumbled the bags there.
Woof.
And even funny enough, Dubois kind of resurrected his career in Capital Land too. So that's really that worked out on both ends there.
Yeah. Other than that, that's like kind of what I'm feeling here. That's kind of what the vibes I get from the UFA. Jake Evans, make it happen, KD. That's the big get is Jake Evans this summer.
Point is, there's plenty of options, right? So KD, I think this is probably his most important offseason so far as a Blackhawks general manager. Like he's got to absolutely nail it down, right? Nail the draft, nail the free agency, and hopefully next year won't be like this, right?
Yeah. All right. Are you guys ready to hit a break?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get in the NHL, yeah.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with the NHL edition of Chicago Hockey Radio. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We got a couple of subscribers while we've been doing this, so thank you to Stephen Ellis again for joining us. That was just a ton. We've been killing it with the 4 interviews. We've got Colby Guy, Who was number? Oh, Greg Boysen, legendary. Like that was so fun.
Yeah, Sean McMorrow,
the sheriff. The sheriff
working
was fun.
hockey. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick Bowens too. Five.
That's right.
Five. I totally forgot about Nick Bowens, but I don't know how I did because good friend and just really cool guy. And yeah, Stephen Ellis. You know, he is. If you guys aren't familiar with Stephen Ellis, like his writing, his draft coverage, his prospect knowledge is like frankly unmatched. Like
yeah,
I know
he's
there
the
are
premier prospect guy.
He's getting into a lot more than me on my couch over here.
no, but even like some of the guys that they bring on TSN, like I'm not trying to like chirp Bob McKenzie at all or anything like that. I just don't know that like Bob is at the stage in his life where he's like sitting there poring over the tape like he used to be like 20 years ago. But again, not to disparage Bob McKenzie at all.
Yeah, I'd take Stephen Ellis as a word probably more than some of those TSN guys. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, Bob McKenzie's draft rankings is based off of what general managers and scouts think. It's not like it's his like rankings.
Yeah.
So.
All right. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. So subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please, please, please follow us on Instagram. And if you feel so inclined, leave a 5-star rating and review on our Spotify page and our Apple Podcast page. Very easy to do, and it helps us out a lot. All right. Quick break, and we'll be back on the other side. All right, wrapping up the week here, Chicago Hockey Radio NHL Hour, live and in color. Justin Lynch on Zoom, Lee Grassman and Tassos Kirkos in studio. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks one last time to Stephen Ellis for just crushing 40 minutes with us. That was really cool. He was very generous with his time. 11 games in the National Hockey League last night, 4 tonight, a busy Saturday tomorrow, and as always, they can't spread it out ever. So busy Saturday and a lighter Sunday. Just, I don't know what kind of news and notes here.
I'm kind of bummed out about that, actually, because I really plan on watching a lot of hockey tomorrow with that race going on. So why couldn't Friday, Sunday be the action-packed days, not the light days? But what are you gonna do there?
That's not what we do here at the NHL. We don't think of things like that. We don't. Yeah, we like to play on days like Saturday where there's a million other things going on in the sports world. It makes too much sense to play on Friday.
Makes so much sense. There is one Hawks thing. I know it's the NHLR, but we were speculating about why Cal Davidson was in Denver, right? Apparently he was there, according to Frank Sirabola. He was there watching Aiden Thompson. He plays for Denver. He's a Hawks prospect, right? Guy we could see at the end of the season. Wink, wink. Yeah, I'm sure that was totally the whole reason why you were there. Kyle, I'm sure you definitely weren't scouting David Coe or any of the Avs players there. Yeah, sure.
Why would a general manager not go to the Blackhawks games to watch a specific prospect? That just doesn't make sense.
That's his cover up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Kyle.
Yeah. Source, trust me, bro, on that one.
I heard he's looking at Zeev Buium to try and get him over to no, I'm just kidding.
It's like that one clip. My source is that I made it the fuck up.
What is that from?
That's some YouTube clip. I don't know, Senator Armstrong or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Those are you know what I'm referencing there, yeah.
Niche YouTube clip reference.
Yeah, mark that down as 1 for today.
Yeah. Deep cut.
All right. What do you guys want to get into? The first thing in the notes here. Oh, okay. Actually, the first thing in the notes, is Pierre LeBrun reporting that the Jonathan Toews comeback is not expected until next season.
That's according to him. I mean, we see him connected to the Jets a little bit here, but it was surprising me. I assumed it would be kind of around the trade deadline, late regular season, so that way to kind of get him going before the playoffs. But maybe he has entire off season to work with before he makes his return. Maybe that makes more sense for him, right? It would be kind of interesting, kind of jumping into it post mid-season. So we'll see if it actually happens or not. But that's what's been reported for Jonathan Toews. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, the level of hockey played at the end of the season and into the postseason is a completely different game from the start of an NHL season, which I don't think anybody on here has mentioned 1,000 times before. So I would just assume that just means Toews isn't quite ready yet and just wants to be legit if he's going to come back. So kind of a bummer because I think we all wanted to see him playing on a good team in the postseason or something, but. Whatever he's got to do to get back, baby.
Yeah, it's probably the smart call there, right? It's tough to jump into it now, right? Wait next season, when it's not real hockey to start the season, as you would say, right? It's an easier transition.
I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him this season to play contrarian a little bit. We've heard so much about it, and this is a guy. Now, there's two sides to this coin here of Jonathan Toews. We read the Kevin Cheveldayoff thing, the Kevin Cheveldayoff quotes on Wednesday, Justin, together. Where he said that Toews knows what level is necessary for him to be at to do something like this. So, if he feels he's at that level now or in the next 3 or 4 weeks here, I could certainly see him making that jump to sign with a contender right now for this season. However, if he doesn't feel as if he's at the level and he needs a bit more time to get going here, that's when we'd probably start looking at next season as a target date for a Taser return to the National.
Absolutely. I have a topic that I'd like to start with, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I watched a few of the games yesterday. Some more closely than others. Vancouver and Edmonton. It was like kind of like the showcase game of the night, just because of the Connor McDavid suspensions thing and the Connor Garland thing. It was supposed
Canucks are terrible, dude.
The Canucks are so bad. And dude, I was like, I can't get enough of this. Like whenever there's a storyline like this, that's why I love talking about the Rangers so much.
Drama.
Like I love the drama. And so I literally, after the Canucks Oilers game, I went on Twitter and found like a kind of like what we do, like a couple of guys who do a post-game show for the Canucks. And I was just watching them for like 30 minutes just lose their minds, dude. The Canucks stink. They laid down and died. And it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that they got battered by the Connor McDavid-less Oilers when it was like supposed to be a big game. But it's like they've also recently, I mean, they lost the Sabres recently, which is as bad as it gets. And then back to back, they got pumped by the Jets and pumped by the Kings. And then lost, had the nice win, narrowly edged the Oilers in that whole fiasco game where McDavid got suspended. And then they come in last night and just drop that 6-2, just got absolutely dominated. They look so lifeless. That team cannot win anything. They're
group, frauds.
That group is just not good enough. And it's just so insane to me that there hasn't been a move out of there yet, because they have to do something. I understand that like moving Miller over Pettersson makes more sense because Pettersson's younger, but like these guys made the point on their show last night that like this core with like Pettersson being the guy is not good enough to win. So it's like, like what do you do? Do you tear the whole thing down? Like, poor Quinn Hughes, I guess.
He's on an island over there.
But I mean, I don't know.
Did you guys hear the other thing too? So first of all, like Patrick Alvin, the GM of the Canucks, has been, we've had some discussions here about Kyle Davidson and talking to the media and how often he should do it, and maybe he doesn't do it enough. Patrick Alvin, it seems like he's like giving a press conference once a week here. And if there is any management group in the NHL that should probably stop talking to the media, it's the Canucks management group. Like this mess here, you're not going to be able to like talk yourself out of it at all. And the most recent thing that was clipped, just things going from bad to worse here in Canuckland. But apparently, Rick Tocchet is a UFA coach at the end of this season. And there were somebody, I guess, in the media asked him about it, and he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, we want Rick to return, but it's a two-way street here."
So sounds like he does it. Well, I mean, why would you at this point? That locker room just sounds like an absolute disaster right now. And the drama situation over there in the room clearly is carrying over on the ice as well. Rick Tocchet, is that somebody you guys would think about for the Hawks?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, I think he's gotten more of that team probably the last couple of years than they probably should. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's easy to forget how good they were the last couple of seasons. It just completely fallen off a cliff here. But I don't really think it has anything to do with him, right? It's more just the roster construction, the drama in the room, and the Demko injury, yada yada. You could go on and on.
But it's not just drama in the room; it's drama in the front office. Like, if you're Patrick Alvin and Jim Rutherford and Emily Castonguay, like, why are you airing out public contract negotiations with your head coach and even saying that?
Yeah, it's horrible mismanagement all around. And I was Canucks Twitter yesterday is like calling for Tocchet's head.
That's crazy.
And it's like so insane. And the guys on the show were like, that Tocchet is this group's third head coach. Like, you think a head coaching change is what's really gonna like work the magic here and turn this whole thing around? Like, you think some guy's gonna come in now and save this team and propel them to the playoffs and win a couple rounds in the postseason? Like, no way. So
yeah,
I think it'd be a bad decision for them to let him go. But yeah, that would definitely be a guy that I'd be interested in the Blackhawks swooping and grabbing.
Yeah, I mean, the Canucks have had coaches of experienced, successful coaches that haven't been able to right the ship. So clearly it's not a coaching issue, right? They had Bruce, there it is, for a while there. Who was it before? Was it Travis Green, I think, before that? Travis Green. Right? He was there for a while. So it's clearly not a coaching problem. It's a roster construction, a team problem. It's pretty clear, I think, at this point. Yeah.
And also Thatcher Demko, there's also been some rumblings about him possibly wanting out of that situation. And since he's come back from injury, it hasn't been as great. So Canucks fans wondering if he's, another guy that maybe is not a piece of the puzzle going forward. That team is a mess. It's a shambles. It's a straight dumpster fire. Like everywhere you look, it's like, whew, I'm glad we're not in that situation, honestly.
It reminds me of like when the whole, Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau leaves Calgary, and Matthew Tkachuk is like, I'm not re-signing here, and you get the trade to Florida, and just the whole exodus of guys like Lindholm and Zadorov, and who you ironically moved to the Canucks. Like this is almost kind of what this is reminding me of,
Yeah.
Like. You're going to trade away JT Miller. The return you're not going to get as high impact of an NHLer back in a deal. Like, I'm sorry, you might get a couple of pieces depending on things, but you're not getting a guy that's going to bring you like winning hockey the way that JT Miller does. If you lose Brock Besser, dude, if you lose Thatcher Demko, you're cooked. You might as well rebuild again.
Yeah. Which is kind of the situation they've found themselves at, because I feel like this whole thing has been so mismanaged that like now it almost feels like all those guys want out and they're all potential trade pieces. So,
buddy, I know we've talked about this last few weeks here, and I feel like we were saying it jokingly before, but like now I look at the Western Conference playoff picture. I don't know, man. I think Lee's tattoo there actually might have a pretty damn good chance of happening now, because like the Canucks. The Canucks are in shambles. They're not getting out of this. They're not making the playoffs. I'm going to confidently say that right now. I think we could all say that. And that's like, you look at these teams here. It's like the Blues are mid. They've been better under Montgomery, but I still think it's a playoff team. Seattle sucks. Anaheim sucks. Nashville sucks. We suck. The Sharks suck. Maybe the club. Maybe that's one team you can look at, but maybe.
They looked really good last night. Or it was 2 nights ago against Minnesota. They looked really good.
Yeah, so maybe that's one team that could bump the Flames out. But like other than that, it's like I'm not really seeing it here. I mean, I know they're only a few points away, but yeah, it could happen, man. They've been there all season,
I'm already mentally prepared for this Calgary Flames tattoo. By the way, like I'm
we will be
fully aware that that's probably happening. But
I mean, they crushed the Sabres yesterday. Like I know it's the Sabres, but
I better crush the Sabres.
I just did not think Vancouver was just gonna like do this. Like this is horrible, because I mean they were pretty bad 2 years ago, and then last year it was like they and they hired Tocchet, and it's like they're finally turning it around. They went to the playoffs. They had a pretty good postseason. They pushed Edmonton to the absolute brink, lost in Game 7.
And frankly, if they had Brock Besser in that game, they probably would have won it.
Yeah, now they've just fallen off of a cliff, like an absolute cliff.
Yeah.
And they don't even look good. They don't even look good in these games.
No, they look horrible. No. Last night they looked.
They're discombobulated.
I watched that team last night and I was like, this team has no chance of making the postseason. They stink.
Yeah, and Nux memes on Instagram's got to be losing his mind right now.
So I went to his Instagram after the game. He kind of pisses me off a little bit, because it's like when bad stuff happens to the Blackhawks, we get really upset and we like, we make our frustrations known. He has this like weird cope thing where like when he's completely wrong about something, or his team gets cooked, he's like, ha ha ha, isn't it fun? Or it's weird. I don't know. It makes me mad.
Yeah, and Hawks fans get called like crybabies. They're like spoiled when we complain about like losing and stuff. But like what happens to them, I guess it's cool. I don't know. That's kind of funny how that works, right?
It's weird.
How about Adam Fantilli the other night, Wednesday, I believe, recorded his first career hat trick at Toronto in front of all his family. He's been cooking lately. I think like 11 points his last 7 games, something like that. You can fact check me on that one, but he's up there, right? I mean, they've unlocked Fantilli. I think it's fair to say now, if it wasn't already started, like this Columbus team could very well be legit. Like they could be making the playoffs this year. Could anybody have imagined putting that sentence out there before the season? It's unreal what they're doing. I mean, just look at the opposite end of the coin there. A team that's overachieving. It's them. I'm pretty impressed. Marchenko probably having one of the more underrated seasons in the NHL. Easily. Those Russian boys you referenced, right? I think it could be, and they're in a playoff spot right now. And like, I mean, a lot of season left here, but the way they're cooking right now, they just seem really cohesive as a unit. Like that could be a playoff team for sure.
And outside of like Monahan, like their entire team is so young.
Fantilli has 13 points in his last 11 games, is what it is.
Okay, because Monahan's been injured, so he's been playing the 1C with the Russian boys,
Marchenko and Voronkov.
And he's fit in right there. He's fit in like a glove there. I mean, good season. Yeah.
He's really turned the corner. Does it make you guys a little mad that he got a hat trick before Connor Bedard?
Oh, I didn't really think about it. Yeah, whatever.
That was the first thing I thought of when he hit that empty netter. That was the first thing I thought of was, boy, I thought these guys were going to be mad about it.
Bedard's knocked on the door. He had a lot of multi-goal games last year. He actually hasn't had one this year. Shockingly enough, his 13 goals, they've all been like 1 goal performances. Has not had a multi-goal game this year, so hopefully that'll change soon here. But yeah, Fantilli, right? He was having a tough season, but like during that stretch, 13 points, 11 games, like he's really turned it around. I like Fantilli. I'm not upset.
I do too.
That. He's not. And again, there's a gap there. It's not like I see him as a threat or anything. And he's in the Eastern Conference too. So
it's also never been a team that I like hated. And I think Marchenko calls him Adamov Fantilsky or Fantilovsky or something like that.
Yeah,
he's given
honorary
him a Russian name.
there.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, I like him flanked at the Russians there. It's been a good line, but yeah, no, the Blue Jackets are a team, especially if they had like no success in their history and everything that happened. Obviously this offseason, like it's a team that's easy to root for right now, right? I think they're playing a lot of heart, and it's good to see. So definitely a team you'd like to see, have some good karma for once.
Yeah, and it seems like honestly that we talked about I brought up the Calgary exodus of players. Like if you think of like the exodus of players that Columbus has had, who it was Dubois, it was
Nick Foligno talked about this when he was captain. Yeah.
It was all of these guys that just haven't wanted to stick around there. Seth Jones. It was. I'm trying to think, like Matt Duchene was there for a brief stint, but that was more
Panarin,
of a rental. Panarin's the big Bobrovsky, guys that they just haven't been able to retain.
Seth Jones.
It seems like Fantilli really loves being a Blue Jacket, really, which is cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I think he's got like a lot of the Michigan players that he played with play there, so I think that helps out from that standpoint, right? He enjoys playing there, like you said. Yeah,
that's so funny to me that they have they draft all these guys from Michigan when you're like in the heart of OSU territory.
Yeah, that is pretty amusing, right?
Yeah.
You think to be? Ohio State's not quite the hotbed that Michigan is. If it was, I'm sure they'd be cooking a lot of players from there. Yeah.
Can you imagine if they had Gaudreau this year too? Like, holy
cow. Dude,
they would be
seriously
super legit. So
yeah. Well, they're playing for him, right? I think they've used his motivation, and and they're it's good to see.
It's cool to see. Yeah.
A little bit of breaking news here: the Islanders have signed defenseman Tony DeAngelo to a 1-year deal worth $775K AAV.
That's what they needed.
DeAngelo had 6 goals, 32 points through 34 games, played with SKA St. Petersburg of the KHL before terminating his contract to return to North America to be closer to family. DeAngelo was, in fact, also, just to rub a little salt in the wound, was headed to the KHL All-Star Game. Now, obviously, he is not going to play in the KHL All-Star Game. He was replaced by Ivan Demidov. But
of course.
But yeah,
he was having a crazy season over there. That team is stacked, that Scott team. Yeah, we don't have to talk about Demidov anymore, what he's doing. But yeah, DeAngelo. Well, I think of an NHL team, though, that probably fits in the least. Like that system there at the Islanders that breeds like zero offense whatsoever, especially from the blue line. Like DeAngelo, that's what he is. Like he's a power play quarterback, right? He produces offense in the back end. He really doesn't play defense. He's a 4-forward out there. I don't really know if he's really going to be the fix that the Islanders need right now.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. They just need some more offense. Who knows? But, yeah.
Well, I know Noah Dobson is a little banged up for them too. So I think that's maybe where the immediate need for someone like that comes in too.
$7 million?
No, 7 million, dude. No, 775,000.
Oh, okay.
Very far. About a tenth of that.
Yeah.
About an actual tenth of that.
I was like, what the hell are they doing?
No.
The return of Tony D. Always Mr. Excitement over there. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it's Pelech and Pollock at the top, who are both really, really good. But then it's like Romanov, who they like a lot. Scott Mayfield, more of like a bottom pair guy for me than a top 4 guy. And then your favorite NHLer, Dennis Cholowski, too. And Isaiah George, who I like a lot, too, but maybe isn't like super quite ready for National Hockey League full time. So.
Yeah, it's New York too, right? Obviously, he played with the Rangers there too, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, Tony D returned to New York City. Yeah, Long Island though. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I like the move a bit for them. It's such a polarizing dude though.
Potential locker room cancer. Yeah, you hear a lot of complaints like the situation Georgiev back in the day. Yeah,
and not like like a guy shouldn't be. blacklisted from the NHL for, being outspoken on social media or being like anything
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
no,
But
that's. I don't think that's.
he's
Yeah.
definitely a difficult guy to root for. Let's just say, at least for myself. Like, just
Did he run like a burner account when he's with the Rangers, like a New York Ranger fan? There's a bunch of numbers there. He like gas himself up on a burner account. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
I kind of love that. I love a heel. I love rooting for a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
All right. What else do we have here? Anything? Oh yeah, this Gary Bettman story.
Yeah, good riddance if that's true. The NHL is prepping for his eventual retirement. Not sure if there's a timeline there, like when that would be. Probably, but the fact that he's even starting to think about it, I mean, I'm sure NHL fans would be thrilled to finally be rid of the Batman there. Although I would put this counter argument out there. I mean, for his flaws, I would say compared to other sport like major commissioners, I'd say Batman's probably like the lesser of the evils there. I would argue. I think other sports have it worse there with their top guys.
Yeah, like Goodell is, I would say, worse.
Yeah, and Manfred, people like that. Yeah.
I can read here. This is an article co-written by Michael Russo and Chris Johnston, who's, outside of Friedman, probably one of the better insiders in the game. I'll read a few paragraphs of this. The executive committee of the NHL's Board of Governors has begun planning for Gary Bettman's retirement in a couple of years, has started the process of finding a successor for the longest tenured commissioner in North American sports. Minnesota Wild owner Craig Leopold said on a podcast Wednesday and clarified with greater detail during a phone call with The Athletic on Thursday. Leopold was asked Wednesday if he had any concerns about the business of the game during an appearance on the Sick podcast with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy. He raved about where things stand with the league before adding his lone concern, the fact that Gary Bettman is going to be retiring. Leopold said it would be a sad day when Bettman, commissioner for nearly 32 years, was not part of the league, but, quote, that's a couple of years down the road, and we're doing the planning now, and we have to make sure we get it right when he leaves. I think the NHL is about to do, I think the estimated revenue this year is $6.6 billion, which would be a massive, massive uptick from where things currently or where things stood before. And I think it's gotten to the point now where players have actually needed to stop paying escrow, which is a good thing for the players and probably hints at, there's been debate about the salary cap rising, For those who don't know, when players pay escrow on their contracts, basically that is like when the salary cap rising and the revenues don't line up, like the players
like
pay
tax.
back. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like a tax.
I
right?
remember Marchand complaining about that in terms of the Hurricanes a few years back, right? He's like, you're the reason we paid 20% escrow or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, COVID was really the big reason why players paid a lot in escrow.
It's okay, guys. I'll step up. Next commission over here.
I was just gonna say I'm hearing rumblings right now that Justin Lynch, aka B-Hawks memes, is first in line to be the next commissioner of the NHL.
Yeah, my thing about Bettman is like, look, he's done a fine job. There's been good expansion into the southern markets. Tampa Bay was a real success. Vegas was a real success. The Arizona Coyotes situation was fumbled beyond belief.
By their owners.
That's a real stain on his legacy in my mind, but it is kind of made up for in some of these other things.
We'll see how the club turns out there. That could make up for it. We'll see.
It seems like things are going well for the club. It honestly seems like things are going better for Utah than they are for Seattle even right now.
What happened with the Yeti name? I guess is that not going to happen anymore? What was the story behind that?
There were some issues with the trademark filing because of
Yeti, like the coolers and the beverage.
Some concern over like confusion or whatever, which is stupid. That
How do you screw that up?
That was always the name I wanted to. I always wanted it to be
that
the
works.
Utah Yeti. I think it's so sick, and you could have the sickest jersey and logo. Bag fumbled. I mean, just don't make the word all capital. I don't know, like, or make it like the Utah Yetis. Like, have them be the Yetis, like plural.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I wonder what the name's going to be now. Mammoth. Yeah.
Is there nobody thinking of this? Like, did nobody think you could just add an S to the end and
Caribou?
boom?
Okay. How about the powder? Utah powder. Utah Mormons.
Well, powder. That's like That's
yeah, we get it. I think that was the joke he was making, bud. I'm on the Caribou train. I don't know if you guys feel any sort of way about that name.
I don't know. It's
not
that's like
right.
that's like a minor league name. I feel
Utah
like
Caribou.
like an ECHL team would be named the Caribou. How about an
Well,
NHL team?
What about Caribou Coffee? That's going to be it's going to
confuse people.
Yeah.
What I've said that they should do is they should buy the ECHL franchise in Utah, the Grizzlies, and take their name.
Oh, Utah Grizzly.
Like
Hell yeah.
Grizzlies is a good one. Like that's
Oh,
what I
that
would like to
works. That works. That really rolls off the tongue there. I like that.
be. Yeah. But yeah, no, the Bettman thing, there's, I don't love, where player safety is right now. I think NHL refereeing is honestly at an all-time low. The refereeing is atrocious. The desperate grasping at straws for parity is not something I love. I would love to see like a soft cap implemented here where, sort of like baseball, but almost sort of like basketball a little bit where, basketball is a soft cap. Baseball obviously has no salary cap, but it has a luxury tax when you spend over a certain limit. I would love to see what it would look like even for a little bit if some of the, it would be a lot of the original 6 markets and, teams like Vegas and stuff like high rolling teams. But like, what if the Blackhawks could spend like 110 million, 120 million on players a year? Like, I think that would be really fun.
It would be awesome for us. It would be horrible for like the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
If it favors the big market teams, I'm all for that, right? Speaking of Hawks, not to bring it back to NHL here, but do you see for the Four Nations, the Sweden actually, Samuel Ersson, I guess, was named the replacement in net. So Soderblom Soda was unfortunately snubbed there. I was wondering if maybe
That's not much of a snub. That's not a snub, Justin.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he had a good season.
Soderblom is a little bit better. Ersson. Sorry, not.
I agree with you. Soderblom is better.
Stop. I screwed up my words.
Yeah, you're right. I just busted the chops.
I mean, think of like how I don't even want to say Philly's bad because I actually made the argument that if they had a competent goalie that they would probably way more of a playoff team than they currently are. But Ersson, compared to like the other guys that they have in net, Fedotov and Kolosov, like I don't know, Ersson's way more of an NHL goalie than those guys.
Yeah, they could have had their goalie situation figured out there, but somebody screwed up over there. Yeah.
Well, and frankly, Justin, your guy Soderblom still might be able to make the team here because the injury status of Linus Ullmark is still up in the air too.
Oh, well, there we go. Soda Four Nations. Let's make it. Could you imagine Soderblom was in the Four Nations and not Bedard? Could you imagine saying that sentence last year?
No,
that's unreal.
Yeah, but think about like Sweden and how, and it doesn't look like William Karlsson is going to play either for them. He's been, pretty banged up this season for Vegas, and
Finland might be favored over them.
No, dude, I mean, I forgot who the third goalie. I can look up who the other goalie was, but like, if you go from having Linus Ullmark and Jacob Markstrom to having neither of them,
Canada might have had better goaltending at this rate.
Woof.
Damn.
Woof,
well, I mean, that's
woof.
Good for us, right? Good for the U.S.
Philip Gustafson is the other goalie. So
I think the 32 Thoughts episode today or yesterday was titled "Is Joey Decord also Swedish or something?"
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They gonna work in the citizenship there, like Canada. That's nuts.
Is it really? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's today's. Any chance Joey Decord is Swedish too? That's the name of their. That's the title of their pod.
That's clever.
Yeah, that is.
That's
super clever.
That's funny. Yeah.
I won't, not to like, I haven't listened to 32 Thoughts in a while because their episodes used to be nice and short and sweet, like 45 to an hour, and now they're like between an hour and 2 hours, and there's just not enough time in the day. There really is.
Well, it's because like the second half of the show is them answering like fan questions. That's why it's so long. Like if you, it's still like the actual part of just them talking is only like it's like a little under an hour.
Yeah.
I like to listen every now and then.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's like the must listen. Like I always feel almost uninformed if I don't listen to their show.
You get your insider talk. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it's become Hockey Psychology on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah, you've guessed
him
up a bit.
Is like must watch. It's like you don't even have to watch the games during the regular season. You just have to watch his weekly video, and he literally goes through the days of the week and just like I feel like highlights all the top stories. So.
Nobody beats the hockey guy on YouTube. He's the top hockey NHL content guy.
Yeah, he's goated, but his content is just like a little too saturated and like specific for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I won't lie. I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
The hockey guy?
No.
It's the dude who just like works in his closet and just has like a billion
He
hockey jerseys.
He watches and reviews every single game. Like he's constantly putting out stuff on YouTube. He's got that jersey collection. Like,
he's got a whiteboard.
Like
You've seen this guy. There's no way.
Oh yeah, there's no way you haven't seen the hockey guy.
I don't know. Maybe.
Shannon, the
Is that his
Vancouver
name?
guy. Yeah, his name's Shannon.
I have no idea.
You've never
dude.
seen this guy?
Never before in my life.
That's crazy,
What?
dude. You got to watch the hockey guy.
Oh yeah, no, get into that. Yeah,
Am I
for
like
sure.
out of the loop on something here? That
Not a big
little,
YouTube guy. Yeah, fair enough.
He watched
More
so
of a-
much.
more-
I guess you
more
don't
of a
really,
podcast
You're not really
guy.
on
Yeah.
YouTube that much, really.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Although I have become more of like a, I used to only listen to my podcasts on audio, like Spotify, and now I've sort of transitioned into watching like the shows I enjoy on.
It's always better on YouTube. It's
YouTube.
always better on YouTube.
Yeah, hint to the listeners out there. You might want to watch us on YouTube. You missed out on our amazing facial expressions and banter.
Yeah. You want to see these pretty faces.
Yeah. Oh, we should shout out Crystal, who won our Wayne Gretzky's basement shirt giveaway. We sent that to her yesterday via Uber Deliver. So, she did get the shirt, and I threw in a couple of stickers in there too. So, I just wanted to give you a shout out, and because I know you are. When we met you at the meetup we did at the Hawks game, you said you were just an audio listener, so it reminded me of that.
True.
But I think she's like in the comments sometimes of, she's in the chat, so I think she's transitioned a bit more to, becoming a video listener too.
Absolutely. An avid CHR enjoyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Crystal.
All right. Do you want to get into some stuff on the weekend? Like what are you guys looking at this weekend? What sort of gets you excited? Obviously, keep in mind, everybody, we'll have post-game shows. There will be a post-game show tonight after the Lightning game, and a post-game show on Sunday after the Wild game. And obviously the Hawks don't play on Saturday. So just curious what else you guys are watching tonight. Vegas, Dallas tonight is kind of going to be a good one. So
In Dallas,
the club and the Jets too to end off the night should be a pretty
These
good
games are all on the same time as the Hawks, so that doesn't help.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Not at all.
So probably won't be watching much. And yeah, tomorrow's racing day for me, so I won't be really watching any hockey tomorrow. But Sunday,
such a big slate tomorrow. Holy cow.
yeah, which sucks. Yeah, for me.
I'm
But yeah,
looking at- Oh no! So let's do Saturday first. Let's not.
Oh,
skip
yeah,
it.
my bad.
Saturday still exists, even if you're not watching. Starting off the day, Avs Bruins. That should be a fun tilt. Bruins desperately in need of some sort of momentum building here. I know they beat Ottawa pretty good a couple of times, they lost to Ottawa the one time. I forgot who they beat. But yeah, they beat the Senators again. Eunice Korpisalo got the shutout after they got dusted by the Devils. So big game for the Bees with Cale Makar and co in town. Lightning, Red Wings, that should be good. Lightning will be on the second half of a back-to-back after tonight's game, but that should be good.
And they
Kane's been out the last couple of nights. He's dealing with some sort of upper body. Hopefully, that's not a long-term thing. I mean, if Kane isn't playing, then I'm not watching the Red Wings. I could care less.
Yeah, kind of a weak lineup tomorrow for the amount of games.
It is.
Like,
it is.
Like what are we
The
going to
matchups aren't
I guess
exactly like
Kings, Blues, Blue Jackets.
Blue Jackets, yeah. That's one. Devils Canadians should actually be pretty fun at the Bell Center. That should be a fun game.
Ooh, Predators Ducks, absolute barn burner there.
Predators Ducks.
Jesus Christ.
Game of the night.
Capitals Canucks. I would love to just see the Capitals go in there and roll Vancouver.
Yeah, I kind of just want to keep seeing. For me, Vancouver are must watch just because I want to see them continue to just plummet and see just what happens. There's been so much drama. Surely they're gonna make a move soon, right?
Yeah, don't call me Shirley, but hopefully, Ovechkin could score 20 goals and get that goal record there against the Canucks, right?
That's true.
How many of the final 20 goals that Alexander Ovechkin needs to break Gretzky's record are going to come via empty netters?
It feels like every
Probably
single game
quarter.
he's the one scoring the empty net goal.
Yeah, which fair enough, right? I mean, different eras. So I mean, some people complaining about that, like it's any other goal, I mean, anyone would do the same thing in that situation, right? We want to see the records. So
yeah. Get them.
They all count the same. They don't ask how. Yeah, for sure.
Holt in
Panthers
chat-
Sharks.
Ooh, Panthers Sharks. Holt asking in chat, what do you guys make of the Wings? They seem super inconsistent. They're blacked out for me in Michigan, so I can't usually watch them. I make nothing of the Detroit Red Wings.
Mid. They're just the definition of mid. They've been a bit better under McLeod, but they're still not a playoff team, unfortunately. Unfortunately for Showtime, but I think they're just mid.
They've been really good recently, but I think now
It
they're
started
kinda
to fall off a little.
Well, they're starting to live up to like what I thought they were going to be at the start of the year, which is like a super dynamic, fun offensive team to watch with not a lot of depth or like, you know, super solid goaltending. So yeah, I don't think maybe they could get the second wild card spot, but I don't think they're going to be able to do anything in the playoffs.
So Lee,
yeah, they did dominate the Habs last night. To be fair, but
to be fair,
yeah, I mean, but they're like 4 points out, which isn't a lot, but just who they going to pass here. I mean, maybe I just don't know. We see who it is. I mean, I think there are other teams in the mix here probably a better shot, like the Senators, for example. Yeah.
And look, the brutal part about the thing with the Red Wings here too, and then we could like maybe transition this into a little Pittsburgh conversation here. But like, it's so tough. And it's got to be really tough for like the Illich family, the owners of the Wings. You know, the fact that you have arguably your greatest player of all time outside of Steve Yzerman. Yeah,
I wonder if that's a callback too.
Yeah, I wonder.
You know, Joe Larkin's played 700 games, has one playoff series to show for his rookie year. That's it.
But it's like, man, like how long of a leash do you give Yzerman to fix this?
I mean, it feels like the seat's getting. I think he's still safe, but the seat's definitely getting hotter. It has to be getting hotter, right? He's gone through a few coaching changes now. Hasn't really changed.
They haven't had a playoff series in that build in the new Little Caesars Arena that they've had. Like that, you know.
It was Joe Lewis still around in 2016?
I think so. Was it
really?
not?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. So they haven't. Little Caesars Arena to see no playoff hockey. Jeez,
that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I know they're still waiting for some prospects there, but it does feel like it should be soon, right? You would think. I think a lot of people, if they're close last year, a lot of people thought this year, maybe next year, but I don't know. I still feel like they're a ways away.
It feels like you're only missing one prospect. It's Sandin Pellikka. Like Casper's on the team and Edvinson's on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Danielson in the Wings too.
Oh, true.
The netminders, right? Kosa, right? Waiting for them.
Fair.
So yeah, there's a couple, but you're right. They're close. It's not like they're like have a bunch of players waiting in the wings. It's just like the last few pieces. So you think they would be closer than they are, basically.
Some of those fans really do still believe in the Yzer plan, though.
I know quite a few that are, you know, struggling to see the end goal here or the end picture.
Not the guy that was cursing at me on Instagram comments like a couple months ago.
Got a plan, Arthur. More money, time.
Yeah.
Have some goddamn faith.
Yeah.
I don't know what they need.
So, yes, we did mailbag already. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. And, yeah, we did do the mailbag at the end of the Hawks Hour. If you're looking for the mailbag,
right.
Grand.
Just
and also roll the tape back. Also, yeah. Utah Yetis was the trademark application refused by the trademark office, so it was plural.
Oh my!
They did try the plural. Oh, we'll try the singular now.
You gotta be. There's no. Wow, that's crazy. That the trademark stuff is like that frivolous. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, did they trademark Yeti and Yetis and any brand name that starts with Y? Like, there's really no loophole for them to figure out here. And
I guess they're just gonna be the Utah Hockey Club now. That's who they are. The club.
Gross.
Yeah.
Should we go ahead to Sunday now?
Yeah.
Because those games
Avs Rangers.
There's 5 of them, but they're all good games.
Mm-hmm.
They're all worth watching.
The only other game on Saturday was, you know, Maple Leaf Senators. It should be a good one.
I'm sure you'll be watching that one.
I will probably be watching that one. And honestly, like, I would love that as a first round matchup.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. They had some really good playoff matchups in like the early 2000s, right? That was when the Leafs were actually winning playoff series. They had always like owned the Senators. So maybe that would be the fix they need to get some playoff success going.
I just think that would be some juice, you know? Like we talked I think it was last week we were talking about like what rivalries are there still in the National Hockey League.
That's an underrated one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be playing Tampa Bay in the first round again.
Frankly, I don't want to play Tampa. I don't want to play the Columbus Blue Jackets either. So
Yeah, well, the Blue Jackets have upset them in the playoffs before. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a Mickey Mouse playoff, but still. Yeah.
Still, dude. And the Leafs have gotten pumped twice by the Blue Jackets this season already.
That was the year they went to like 7 overtimes or something, like that 2020 bubble, or was it 2020?
With Tampa Bay. Yeah. No, it was the 2020 bubble. Yeah.
That's Toronto, right, yeah.
If I'm Toronto, I'd rather play the Bruins over the...
I don't think the Bruins are.
Yeah, because the Bruins always. Yeah, they're probably not even going to be there, but the Bruins always goes well for Toronto, right?
I think the Bruins are bad. I think the Leafs would beat the Bruins this year.
Yeah, I agree.
You would think, but it's the Bruins. History shows they always fold against them.
You can't do that, though. You can't say, I don't know. I hate when people do that.
2013, 2018, 2019,
the
2024.
Leafs are so much better than the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
You're right, but sometimes come playoff time doesn't matter.
And also, I don't know if you guys have been watching a ton of Leafs hockey, but Austin Matthews has been one of the better players in the National Hockey League over the last couple of weeks.
Did you see the clip where he's holding the goalie stick?
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
so funny.
That was really funny. Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before.
And then there was a goalie that was holding a player stick.
Yeah, Merzlikins picked up his stick, so
that's why he picked
they
up
swapped.
the goalie. Yeah.
That was funny. That was great.
yeah.
Imagine he scores with that, man.
Yeah, I wish he didn't just put it down. I wish he tried to stay in the play with the goalie stick. Would they have called
Would that even
back?
count?
Would that
Yeah,
be
how would that
penalty?
work actually? Yeah.
I think it would have to count, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
the goalie can pick up his stick,
You can pick up the goalies. Yeah.
You would think, I don't know, sometimes goalies have, sometimes they have a little more leeway with that stuff compared to players. I don't know.
I feel like
Yeah.
if you pick up a goalie stick, you just want to be ripping clappers, just like.
Yeah, it'd probably be tricky to shoot with that. How would that work? Yeah, but if anybody could do it, it'd be him.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt Sunday's game talk with Maple Leaf talk. I just, I
then we got
because that's probably
Flames,
the best
Jets.
game. That's probably the best game on Saturday is Maple Leafs Senators. So.
Yeah, maybe I'll have that on the background, another screen or something. Yeah, Flames Jets in there too. That's a pretty solid one. Yeah, end of the day, that's a good one there. Panthers Golden Knights 2023 rematch there could be a cup matchup this year for all we know. So yeah, that's probably the game of the night there.
Yeah. Also, Avalanche Rangers in the afternoon. That's a nice day of hockey on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all bangers there, and obviously Hawks Wild game of the day there actually, and for sure.
Yeah, we'll have a really depressing post-game show to break up all the really good hockey on Sunday.
Yeah, because we know games against the Wild these days tend to go. They've owned us in recent memory, so yeah, I'm sure that'll go great. But hockey fights catching it. Hopefully the Hawks play with some heart that game.
Yeah, Kirill Kaprizov wasn't really good in his return to the lineup yesterday, so he's going to hang up a hat trick on the Hawks on Sunday.
That's how it works. He's auditioning for his 2026 there.
All right, score predictions for tonight before we get out of here.
Oh, yeah, I think I said that this is the game Hawks would win, but I'm actually going to circle back on that. They've been off all week. The Lightning are probably good. This is probably a game we're going to get pumped, to be honest with you. I'll say the Lightning win 5-2. 5-2. Oh. Betsy Nazar gets something in there, though, so makes up for it. Yeah.
Is it Vasilevsky in that tonight? It is unconfirmed, but yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. Any chance we had. Yeah, no.
I'm going to say 4-0 Lightning.
Ooh.
Hawks still haven't been shut out this season.
No, they haven't. I mean, it's got to happen eventually, right? They haven't shut out anybody either.
Probably
so there's
a
never
bad
been
bet.
a 0 in a Hawks game. Yeah.
I was gonna say 5-3 Tampa.
Yeah. I wonder where you got that one.
Shut up.
I'm throwing in my jabs now because of that debate. Yeah.
People
Maybe
going,
win the battle, but you're not going to win the war there.
people going at it in the chat right now,
Really?
just at each other's throats about
Well, I need
draft
to get
talk.
in here.
Yeah,
Wait, they're still talking about the trap? That was like
that's
an hour
all
ago.
they're
It's
talking.
all
Let's talk about.
That's all anybody's talking about today.
It's all we care about, Justin. Of course, it's gonna be all that chat cares about too.
Yeah,
It's
fair enough. This thumbnail cracks me up, man. Raven absolutely cooked at this thumbnail.
Yeah, it was a really good thumbnail. We're definitely gonna have to use that one minus Steven at some point in there as we get closer to the draft. So I think that's it for the show. Look, we actually have a lot of fun stuff that we're working on behind the scenes, and we'll probably be able to announce it even probably as soon as Monday's show. I have a meeting at 2:30 here for something exciting, potentially in the works for the beginning of March. So be on the lookout for fun announcements from us. I'm gonna probably be doing a poll on Instagram on Sunday morning, as well as we'll try and put something in the Discord to try and figure out merchandise interest and what you guys would be interested in buying, what you guys would want, whether that's a hat, a beanie, a t-shirt, a hoodie. We're going to probably do some sort of combination of all four of those things, and then probably at the start of next season, we're going to probably look to get some cool CHR jerseys or something like that. That could be really fun, but probably won't happen until next season. But we have some fun stuff planned for beginning of March. We're in talks with Holt, active chat member, about doing a K-Wings game at some point this season too.
Absolute cinema.
So there's a ton of fun stuff happening in CHR land. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're in the Discord. You know, you DM us questions on Friday. We answer them every Friday. You know, we're working to get some more guests back on. We're going to try and bring on Greg Boysen back in, maybe at some point in February if he wants to come back on. And yeah, no, I don't know, boys. This has been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So
CHR business is booming. It's like that scene in Scarface where Tony Montana is like raking in the dough there with the money, making deals. That's us right now. Push it to the limit.
Absolutely. It's a fun time to be doing this. So
Oh yeah.
a lot of big things to come.
yeah, and no fighting with each other in the comments. Keep it civil, everybody. You know, we're all
Maybe
we're
a
all
little,
part
maybe,
of the.
Me and
maybe
Lee fighting,
maybe a
though.
little bit of fighting. Maybe a little bit of
Yeah.
fighting. It's good for engagement.
It is good for engagement. All right. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. And I only keep saying it because you guys keep doing it. I see the 5-star ratings going up and up and up, and I want more of it. And we all do too. So if you want to make Lee and Justin and myself happy, and Raven too, please go ahead and do that. Oh, are we live streaming a game next week? We'll decide what game we're live streaming next week after this, and I'll announce it on tonight's post game show. So be on the lookout for that announcement tonight as well. All right, that's it. You'll see me and Justin later tonight after the Bolts game. See everybody on Monday.